Train Hollywood. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1. Smuggling into the United States. On the rough sea, a cruise ship responsible for smuggling, full of all kinds of smugglers, screamed desperately, sailing on the stormy sea, like a rootless duckweed, tossed helplessly by the wind and waves. It's terrible. Why are you seasick at this time? Ah Yang, wake up, wake up. A naive fat man slapped his companion's face hard, but the other party had already fainted, and no matter how he slapped him, there was no response. I told you not to smuggle to the United States, but you didn't listen. Now, if you have an accident, how can I go back to see your parents? No matter what, in order to save you, I have to sacrifice myself. The fat man took a deep breath, filled his stinky mouth, that hadn't been brushed for 3 days with air, then pouted his thick lips, aimed at his companion's mouth and moved closer, silently in his heart. I'm a tabha. If I don't go to hell, who will? Feiyang opened his eyes in a daze, and then he saw a very scary scene. A fat pig-like man was squinting his eyes and pouting his fat mouth, as if he was enjoying it, preparing to kiss him. Oh my god, this is outrageous. Is he gay? Reflexively, Feiyang raised his fist and punched the other person's eye socket without hesitation. Steady, accurate, and ruthless. The unfortunate fat man cried out ah, and was knocked over. Feiyang is not the kind of person who allows others to take advantage of him, not to mention that the one who wants to take advantage of him is not a woman, but a man. It would be fine if it was a man, and it would not be Han Bin, One Bin, or the like, but this fat pig-like guy in front of him. This is intolerable. So, Feiyang stood up without any hesitation, and punched and kicked the fat guy, shouting, I told you to be gay. Fuck your sister. Don't you see who I am? From childhood to adulthood, no one dared to tease me except me, you pighead. I won't lose if I beat you to death. The fat guy was beaten to death by Feiyang's fists, and he was so miserable. Stop, please stop. Ah Yang, I'm Fenny Bao. Your good friend Fenny Bao. How come you don't recognize me? Fenny Bao? Feiyang suddenly had a lot of random things in his mind. In his mind, he and the fat guy smiled arm in arm, picked up girls together, whistled, drank beer together, and peed on the roadside together when drunk. He was actually his friend. What happened? Exclamation mark. Feiyang's mind was in a mess. Seeing Feiyang staring at him stupidly and no longer swinging his fists, the fat guy Gao Jiabao breathed a sigh of relief. Are you Feiyang, my friend? Nonsense. Who else could it be besides me? Gao Jiabao stood up with his teeth bared. Fortunately I'm conspicuous enough, otherwise I would have been beaten to death by you. Damn, am I dreaming? Feiyang stretched out his hand and pinched Gao Jiabao's face. It was warm and elastic, alive. Not a dream. What? Gao Jiabao opened his hand with a dark panda eye. Do you want to see if I'm dead? You ungrateful guy, you don't even look clearly, just hit people randomly. The fat man blinked his dark eyes and muttered, but Feiyang slowly confirmed one thing. It is now 1998, and he is in American waters. In other words, the original and current self has traveled through time. From the modern era to this guy with the same name and surname. As for this guy with the same name, he is a complete unlucky guy. He owed usury in Hong Kong, so he was forced to run away to the United States with his friends. It's a miracle, and it's exciting. I like it. Ha ha ha. Feiyang laughed strangely. He was born free and unrestrained, but now that he was in danger, he felt extremely refreshed. Seeing Feiyang's crazy look, the fat man Gao Jiabao thought, no, could it be that he was too stimulated and went crazy? This is a vast ocean, where can I find a doctor? Exclamation mark. Just as Gao Jiabao was thinking, there was a loud bang. The smuggling boat has docked. Bang, bang, you guys, get out. The smuggler in charge of smuggling knocked hard on the cabin. Those unkempt, dirty, covered with saliva, vomit, and even urine stains, came out of the cabin one by one with their heads in their hands. It was raining heavily outside, and they stood in line like poor bugs in the rain, waiting for the next instruction from the smuggler. Among them, only Feiyang was obviously different. He didn't walk out like a mouse with his head in his arms and his back bent, but walked out with big strides. After walking out, he looked around, stretched his back, and drank a few mouthfuls of water facing the pouring rain, shouting, "It's so cool." But before he finished having fun, he heard a pop. A stick hit him. "Damn it, what are you looking at? Be careful, I'll beat you to death." A long-haired man holding a stick glared at Feiyang fiercely and said. Feiyang laughed. "What did you say?" "I said I'll beat you to death." "Damn it, you're still laughing." With a snap, the long-haired man hit Feiyang with the stick again. Feiyang twisted his neck, as if nothing had happened, and his neck creaked, as if the stick didn't work at all. "I'm asking you about the first few words?" Feiyang licked the rain at the corner of his mouth with his tongue evilly. Chang Meo was furious. Since he was in charge of smuggling, he had seen all the smugglers being bullied like rats. Who had ever seen such a madman? "I said, I'm going to beat you to death." This time, Chang Meo aimed at Feiyang's head and beat him hard. He wanted to beat him until his head was broken and bleeding, so that he would know whose territory this was. "Yang, be careful." Gao Jiabao turned around and saw Chang Meo swinging the stick. Chang Meo grinned. "Go to hell, bastard." Snap. The stick was held. In the pouring rain, Feiyang held the stick tightly, tilted his head, and looked at Chang Meo who was trying to pull out the stick, and smiled. "Say it again, I didn't hear it clearly." Chang Meo used all his strength, but the stick seemed to be welded to Feiyang's hand, and didn't move at all. Chang Meo's neck was swollen and thick, and he gasped and said, "I said." Just after spitting out 3 words, Feiyang raised his foot and kicked him in the stomach. Like a cannonball, Chang Meo flew out before he could even scream. Everyone around was stunned. They looked at Feiyang like he was a monster. Feiyang twisted his neck. "Bad boy, why do you want to be beaten so badly? I've already reminded you that I'm not happy with you, but you still keep calling me I." The scarred snakehead next to him was just waiting to see how his men would teach this ignorant dog a lesson, so as to kill the chicken, to scare the monkeys and let these stowaways know how powerful they are. But the situation took a 180-degree turn, and his man Chang Meo was kicked away. Specifically, Chang Meo was kicked away like garbage, and now he was lying on the ground, not knowing whether he was dead or alive. Scarface was also a person who had experienced storms. He knew that at this time he could only make a quick decision and kill this son of a bitch, so as to prevent other stowaways from rebelling. So he made a gesture casually. "Go together." The snake boys who had originally used sticks to whip those poor guys stared at Feiyang like wolves and were about to surround him. But they were too late. Feiyang didn't give them a chance to gather around him. In the heavy rain, he rushed into a flock of sheep like a tiger. Feiyang's shadow moved around, punching with fists, knees, and elbows. Bang, bang, bang. A series of explosions. Bones shattered. Pain. Howling. No one could imagine how a person could have such terrible skills. Feiyang's friend Fatty Feiyang couldn't imagine it. Scarface couldn't imagine it either, so he hurriedly took out the gun tucked in his waist. But before he could hold the gun steady, Feiyang had already approached him. "Come on, let's get close." He kneeled on Scarface's stomach. Scarface felt that his stomach was about to burst. His internal organs were in a mess, and he knelt on the ground, feeling sore from the pain. This was not over yet. Feiyang grabbed his hair, banked, and kneeled again, directly on his face. Peach blossoms bloomed. Scarface could no longer hold on, and fainted. Scarface's men were shocked again. Are they kidding me? The boss, who was always brave and invincible in their minds, was knocked out by the other party with one move. When they woke up and were about to rescue him, Feiyang hooked the gun on the ground with his foot, held it very handsomely, and then pointed at them with a smile and said, "Whoever moves, hit him. Come, let's play a game to see who is the good boy." In the pouring rain, those originally ferocious snakes looked at each other and then collectively threw away the sticks in their hands. "You clap one, I clap one. Congratulations to Brother Fetty for flying a plane. You clap two, I clap two. Congratulations to Brother Fetty for being the second. You clap three, I clap three. Congratulations to Brother Fei for holding a gold brick. American smuggling dock. A group of snakes squatted on the ground, clapping their hands and singing, like a group of extremely cute children, very happy. Of course, there was a gun hanging over their heads. Feiyang was very satisfied with the comprehension of these guys. Although he liked to hit them on the head with a gun from time to time to motivate them, in principle, these people were still very promising. Oh, that's good. Look at you, you're so obedient, how great. I really don't want to hit you, but you insist on getting yourself bruised and battered. Why? To be honest, I'm Brother Fei, a good man. There's no discrimination in education. If you behave yourself, you'll have a bright future. Okay, I won't say so much. From now on, turn your backs and count from 1 to 10,000. You can only turn back when I tell you to. Otherwise, Brother Fei will be very angry and the consequences will be very serious. After Feiyang finished speaking, he kicked these guys' butts hard a few times, then shot them to the ground and gave orders. Start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, asterisk. None of the abused snakes dared to look back. They counted at the top of their voices. The heavy rain made their eyes wet. Woo, they have been out there for so long, but have never been bullied like this. Chapter 2. Legend of T-Eggs. The car hunt, and Feiyang got on the off-road vehicle that originally belonged to the snakehead scarred face. The fat man Gao Jiabao stared at him in the car and asked, Feiyang, I have been friends with you for so long, how come I didn't know you were so good at fighting? Feiyang laughed. Everyone has secrets, so there are still many things you don't know. He stepped hard on the accelerator, and the wheels of the off-road vehicle threw up a lot of mud, and then rushed out like a buffalo. Not far away, the fat man saw a telephone booth on the side of the road, and shouted to Feiyang, Stop quickly. Call your family to let them know you are safe first. Feiyang stopped the off-road vehicle with a dragon's tail. The fat man hurriedly got into the telephone booth, touched a coin, and put it in. Feiyang hid aside, took out a box of cigarettes, flicked it with his fingers, and a cigarette popped out. He opened his mouth and bit it handsomely. The smoke was curling, and it looked particularly hazy in the heavy rain. After almost finishing a cigarette, Feiyang scratched his eyebrows with the fingers holding the cigarette. Fatty, are you done? No, wait a minute. The fat man cried while holding the phone, saying that he was fine and had come to the United States and asked not to worry about him. After waiting for him to finish the call, there were already several cigarette butts under Feiyang's feet. Feiyang, it's your turn. You should also call home. Me. Forget it. Feiyang felt a little unnatural about this relative whom he had never met. What do you mean forget it? Those are your parents. I don't know how worried they are about you now. Without saying anything, the fat man helped Feiyang to put in a coin, and then forced the phone into his hand. Beep beep beep. After a series of calls, the call was connected. An anxious voice on the other end of the phone said, Hello, is this Feiyang? Why don't you talk? Is there something wrong? Feiyang knew that the person on the other end of the phone should be his cheap mother. He originally wanted to deal with it calmly, but for some reason, when he heard the other party's extremely anxious voice, a warm current actually flowed into his body along the phone line. I'm fine, really fine. You don't have to worry about me. HU. A cold air hit, and Feiyang couldn't help sneezing. Immediately, the mother's caring words came from the other end of the phone. Feiyang, what's wrong with you? Do you have a cold? If you have a cold, you need to take medicine and go to the doctor. Don't just stand it. It's best to go to Chinatown to see a Chinese doctor. Those foreign doctors are not trustworthy. The mother started nagging over there. Faced with the nagging on the other end of the phone, someone who was fearless didn't know how to deal with it. In his previous life, Feiyang was an orphan and had never experienced the warmth of family affection. Even in dreams, family affection was so difficult to touch, but now, that warm current is even warmer. Don't worry, Mom. Feiyang called out the word mom to the phone for the first time. I will definitely take care of myself. Also, Feiyang and I have already arrived in the United States. As long as we find a job, we will be able to send money back soon. Feiyang knew that the original self ran away because of debts. His running away was equivalent to throwing all the troubles to his family. It is estimated that life at home will be very difficult. Feiyang, listen to me. Don't send money here. Your dad has already paid part of those debts for you. The mother on the other end of the phone was silent for a while. Your dad sold his taxi. Those debt collectors are also human beings. They won't push us too hard. What? You mean dad? He sold his car? Feiyang was stunned for a moment. Feiyang's father is a very traditional Hong Kong taxi driver. He had worked hard for more than 10 years. 3 years ago, he finally bought a car of his own. Being able to drive a car of his own to pick up passengers is a sense of accomplishment for him. Unexpectedly, his son owed a loan shark, forcing him to sell the car he had worked so hard to buy, and then continue to do his old business and drive for others. It can be said that Feiyang's escape completely shattered his dream. There is no way. Being someone's father is mostly a losing business. Your father is fine, he can eat and drink, and he is still driving for others. Taxi drivers are treated better now, but it's a little harder, especially when they sit for a long time. They have problems with their lumbar spine. The voice on the other end of the mother's phone became very light. Feiyang, who never understood what family affection was, suddenly felt that something was about to flow out of his eyes. In front of him, he seemed to see a man with white hair on his temples, driving a night car hard, eating cold rice, and beating his sore waist from time to time with his hands. Damn, it's so touching. Feiyang cursed secretly. He couldn't continue the call. He simply said a few words to comfort the other party, and then said, I'm fine, don't worry about me. Feiyang decisively hung up the phone. Walking out of the phone booth, Feiyang took a deep breath outside, looking at the rainy America, and suddenly felt proud. No matter what, he had to work hard here, not for himself, but also for the people on the other end of the phone, to make their lives better. Fatty, get in the car. Feiyang tightened his clothes. Feiyang, did you cry just now? The fat man asked, when he got in the car. No. Then why are your eyes so red? It's smoke. You didn't cry. I cried. The fat man said. Feiyang, I miss home. Feiyang was silent for a while, patted the fat man, a real man, shed blood but not tears. Okay, cheer up. How do we go now? Oh, let me see. The fat man cheered up again, and took out a wrinkled map of the United States from his pocket. This is what they prepared in advance, so as not to get lost. We are here now. The place we are going to is here. The direction we are heading now is. The fat man looked at the dark outside. The heavy rain was pouring, and it was hard to see a bird. Scratching his head. Anyway, just keep going forward. The fat man finally said irresponsibly. Feiyang stepped on the accelerator, and the off-road vehicle roared even crazier. A few hours later, Feiyang's stomach began to growl. Hey, Feiyang, do you have anything to eat? The fat man was taking a nap, and he opened his eyes dazedly. Yes. Then he reached into his pocket and fumbled for a long time before he found 3 tea eggs. Here, these are all that's left. No way. Can this fill your stomach? Although it can't, it's very memorable. These 3 eggs were cooked for you by your mother before she left. My mother is so loving. She stuffed 3 tea eggs into my pocket so I could run away. Of course, your mother's eggs are not ordinary eggs. Your mother's eggs. Stop. Feiyang said hurriedly. Can you not mention my mother when you mention the eggs? Also, how come the tea eggs my mother cooked for me are in your pocket? The fat man was guilty. You fainted before. I was afraid that you would crush the eggs, so I took them for you. Oh, that's thoughtful. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. Haha. The fat man smiled tactfully. Here, eat one first. The fat man peeled an egg and stuffed it into Feiyang's mouth. Feiyang was driving the car, and he swallowed the tea egg in one mouthful without hesitation. He chewed it for a few times and muttered, why don't you eat it? I'll eat it right now. Haha. The fat man opened his mouth and swallowed 2 eggs in one mouthful. Feiyang. Facts have proved that carrying 3 tea eggs to sneak across the border is a very stomach testing thing. At least Feiyang's stomach began to rumble again. The rain outside the car was getting heavier and heavier, and driving on a rainy night was also very dangerous. Fortunately, at this time, Feiyang saw a motel next to him. He stopped the car. Let's go eat. But we are sneaking across the border. The fat man saw that Feiyang had already gotten off the car, gritted his teeth, and thought, it's better to be caught than to starve to death. Feiyang pushed open the door of the hotel with a thud, and the wind chimes on the door jingled. In the restaurant of the hotel, 2 white people and a black customer looked at Feiyang, who strode in with surprise. Feiyang wiped the rain off his face, not caring about the strange looks at all. He walked straight to the dining table, sat down on the swivel chair, and then tapped the counter with his fingers, and said to the waitress who was making coffee, "Beauty, 2 meals, anything is fine. 2 cups of hot coffee is best." Feiyang spoke English fluently, which surprised the fat man, who dared to come in later. In the past, Yang's English level was at the same level as his own, and he spoke stutteringly. Now, Feiyang's change almost made the fat man numb. In a moment, sandwiches, fried chicken legs, French fries, and freshly heated coffee were served. The fat man wolfed down the coffee, and his lips trembled when he drank the coffee. He even drank it all in one breath. Such a fierce eating manner stunned the 3 foreign customers. Although Feiyang was also very hungry, his eating manner was much better. At least he drank his coffee mouthful by mouthful instead of tilting his neck to drink it straight down. Wow, so comfortable. I didn't expect that fried chicken legs in the United States are so delicious, and even coffee is so delicious. Ugh. The fat man burped happily, then turned his head and asked Feiyang, "Yang, did you eat well?" Feiyang nodded while drinking coffee. "Waiter, pay the bill." The fat man rarely showed off on the way, and looked at the waitress coquettishly and said, "A total of $18. The waitress said, "Okay." The fat man reached into his crotch, and in the stunned waitress, the fat man, in an extremely obscene posture of touching a bird and playing with eggs, finally took out a plastic bag from his crotch. The plastic bag is waterproof, leak-proof and theft-proof, and it is tightly wrapped with US dollars exchanged in Hong Kong. "Here, this is $20. The fat man licked his lips, counted out the $20 carefully with his saliva, and then handed it to the waitress. When handing the money, he did not forget to blink his eyes, pretending to be handsome. The waitress took the money, but she felt a smell of urine rushing up to the sky. She covered her nose and frowned, saying, "Thank you for your patronage. Ahem. Oh, you are too polite. But, it seems that you haven't given me the change yet," the fat man said in half-baked English. The waitress was stunned. Didn't she give a tip? The fat man had no concept of tipping. For him, saving money is saving money, especially these US dollars, which are not easy to exchange. A black man next to him couldn't stand it anymore. "Hey, man, you didn't come here illegally?" Before Feiyang covered the fat man's stinky mouth, the fat man had already spoken. "Hey, how did you know?" The black man and the white man next to him immediately changed color, looking at them as if they saw a plague. Seeing this, Feiyang slapped the pistol on the table with a snap, then turned around and said to the big-mouthed waitress with a smile, "Thank you, beauty, 2 more, take it away." The fat man added, "Remember to give me the change." The off-road vehicle started again and rushed into the road in the heavy rain. "I'm sorry, Yang, I shouldn't have said so much, otherwise we could stay in the hotel for 1 night." The fat man lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. Feiyang shrugged indifferently, "It's okay. The sooner we start, the sooner we can get out of danger. But where are we going now? Do you want to see the map?" The fat man took out the old, weak and sick map of the United States. Feiyang grabbed it, tore the map in half, and threw it away. "Yang, what are you doing?" the fat man asked hurriedly. "It's useless to look at this stuff." Feiyang held the steering wheel. "Let me ask you, what is the most famous thing in the United States?" "McDonald's." "What else?" "KFC." "Can you eat less? That is." The fat man scratched his forehead, and suddenly a light bulb went off in his head. "Hollywood. I like watching Hollywood movies the most." Feiyang smiled. "Okay, then let's go to Hollywood." "Great. Let's go to Hollywood. To see beauties. To see stars." The fat man roared. Feiyang raised his lips, stepped on the accelerator, and the car rushed out, stirring up a wave of mud under the wheels. Chapter 3. I want to be rich. 3 months later, Los Angeles, USA. Many years ago, a great and fucked up black leader once said, "I have a dream." Translated into Chinese, it means, I have a dream. This is the origin of the American dream. Since Feiyang and Fatty have come to Hollywood, of course they also have their American dream. That is, to be able to make a name for themselves in this colorful world of Hollywood with their own strength. In his previous life, Feiyang was a super movie fan. His favorite thing to do was to watch movies. He knew all kinds of movies like the back of his hand. He was even more familiar with the gossips about those big stars. Feiyang believed that, as long as he relied on his foresight, courage and wisdom, he would be able to succeed in Hollywood. Whether it was songs or movies, whether it was distribution or production, he could rely on plugins to travel across North America and show off his power. Feiyang was a person who was unwilling to be mediocre, but before he went crazy, he had to do one thing, that was, wash the dishes. The reason was that he didn't have a green card. He sure. In the back kitchen of the Chinese restaurant, Feiyang was wiping the plates swiftly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the plates were spotlessly clean and sparkling. Not far behind him, the fat man Gao Jiabao was peeling onions with tears and snot, wiping his tears and snot with his sleeves from time to time. It can be said that he was peeling onions very happily. It is not easy to survive in the United States. And as a stowaway, it is even more miserable to survive in the United States. There is no other way. In order to survive, Feiyang and the fat man had to lower their prices and work in this extremely stingy Chinese restaurant. The reason is that many foreign restaurants do not accept Chinese people with black eyes and yellow skin. They would rather accept those black people who wear baseball caps crookedly. Only here, although the salary is lower, it can at least let you survive temporarily. It is said that the United States is a sacred country that is free and equal. It depends on whether you are an idiot or a cataract. Idiot. How come you guys are so slow? You haven't even finished such a small job. You only know how to be lazy and eat. An extremely wretched looking man with a red nose came out while drinking. The man with a red nose is the owner of this Chinese restaurant. He is a miser by nature, and his biggest wish is to be able to sell pig bladders as chicken wings and fish stomachs. Of course, he also hopes to split all the employees in half to use them, if they can survive. Look at you. You are as slow as a woman. You are just a waste. If I hadn't taken you in, you guys who came here illegally without identity and green cards would have starved to death on the roadside. He burped. Only kind people like me will help you. Otherwise, you can just wait to sleep on the street. The man with a red nose took a sip of wine, staggered over, kicked the onion that the fat man had peeled, came behind a female employee, stretched out his hand, and pinched the other's raised buttocks. The woman dodged quickly like a frightened rabbit. "Boss, what are you doing? What? Don't you know yet?" The rosacea refused to give in, and reached out to touch the other's face again. "No, boss, no." The female employee was also smuggled in. She has been in the United States for almost half a year and has not yet obtained a green card. She has no choice but to work here secretly. Rosacea knew that the female employee dared not resist and laughed even more unscrupulously. "Come on, why pretend to be innocent? Instead of being fucked by those Americans, it's better for you to get your hands on me first. After all, we are family." Seeing that Rosacea was so shameless and vulgar, none of the employees around him dared to say anything. Almost all of them were stranded in the United States without green cards. Apart from this job, they really had no way to make a living. So they had to bow their heads and pretend to be deaf and dumb, or simply make excuses to go out, and no one dared to stop them. Rosacea drank too much, and seeing so many people pretending to be deaf and dumb, he became even more proud. He stretched out his hand, and this time he didn't touch the woman's, but her breasts. "Come on, let me see if your little rabbit is plump." Bang! Suddenly, a plate broke. Everyone's attention was drawn to it. Feiyang shook off the water stains on his hands. "Sorry, I broke a plate." The man with the rosacea squinted his eyes. "You did it on purpose." He had been unhappy with this new troublemaker for a long time. "Oh, you figured it out. Smart. Are you looking for death?" Believe it or not, I will fire you and throw you on the street. The man with the rosacea was furious. Bang! Feiyang threw another plate on the ground. Sorry, another one is broken. The man with the rosacea felt distressed. He felt that this was cutting his flesh. The man with the rosacea was so angry that he couldn't speak. I will deduct your salary. Bang bang bang. Feiyang threw the plate, and one by one broke. The man with the rosacea couldn't bear it anymore, but before he could get angry, Feiyang said, catch it. A plate flew towards him. The man with the rosacea jumped and caught it with his hands like a smart hound. But behind him, whoosh whoosh whoosh, a series of plates flew towards him like flying saucers. Rosacea was in trouble. He was not an octopus with 8 tentacles. The plates hit his face and nose bridge without mercy. Bang bang. Feiyang was having a lot of fun playing flying saucers, but he ruined Rosacea's face and nose, which was bruised and swollen. In the end, he hugged a pile of broken plates and lay on the ground like a dog, panting. I'm going to call the police to arrest you. Oh, you lost your temper. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. Come on, calm down. I'll help you up. Feiyang carefully helped Rosacea up. The man with the rosacea thought he was scared, so he panted and said proudly, "Ha, you little bastard. Are you scared now? You bastard. You dare to hit me like this with a plate. Boss, I've always wanted to say something to you." Feiyang supported the man with the rosacea, that is, I quit. After saying that, he raised his foot and kicked him in the stomach. The man with the rosacea, who was still showing off, felt the wind whistling in his ears. With a plop, he was kicked into the trash can with his butt down. Then his internal organs rolled, and the wine he drank, mixed with all kinds of messy things, all came out in a whoosh. Everyone stared at Feiyang in amazement. Suddenly, they applauded. Great, good fight. Kill this old bastard. Feiyang looked at the half-dead Rosacea, took off his work clothes, threw them on Rosacea, and said to Fatty, "Let's go." Fatty was anxious. "We were smuggled here, so we can't act on impulse." He hurriedly advised, "Feiyang, don't be impulsive. Don't be impulsive." Then he ran to Rosacea and said, "Boss, Feiyang didn't mean it. Since we are working hard, can you give us another chance?" Rosacea was half dead and couldn't even speak. He just stretched out a finger with difficulty. Fatty hurriedly grasped the life-saving finger. "You mean give us another chance?" Rosacea moved his lips. "I mean, fuck." Fatty. He was stunned for a moment and immediately punched and kicked Rosacea. "Don't hold me back. I'm going to beat this bastard to death. I peeled so many onions for him without complaint, and he still fucked me. I'll kill you." Los Angeles, on the street. "Feiyang, we're unemployed now. What should we do?" The fat man said with a distressed look on his face. "What should I do? If I can't stay here, I'll find another place to stay." "KO, that sounds good, but I've lost my salary." The fat man walked a few steps faster to catch up with Feiyang and said, "But I'm smart. Look at how much this watch can sell for." Feiyang looked at the golden Rolex in the fat man's hand and was stunned. "Where did you get it?" "I got it when I beat up the turtle boss just now." Feiyang. "Fatty, just think of it as our salary owed. Look at how much it's worth." Feiyang. "No need to look. It's fake." "What do you mean by fake? How do you know if you haven't even looked at it? It's strange that such a stingy guy would buy such an expensive watch. Is it really fake?" The fat man picked up the Rolex from behind and bit it, and a row of teeth marks immediately appeared on the gold watch. "I'm so stupid. I finally came to the United States and encountered a fake." The fat man roared. "What should I do now? Even this bird watch is useless." The fat man caught up with Feiyang and said. Feiyang did not answer the fat man, but looked at the various colorful posters of Hollywood superstars posted on the surrounding high-rise buildings in the hazy night, such as Tom Cruise and Julia Roberts, then looked at the various famous cars and luxury cars on the colorful road, the homeless people warming themselves by the fire on the roadside, the wandering black men, and the bad boys chatting. Feiyang suddenly asked the fat man, "Fei Bao, what was our ideal when we came to the United States before?" The fat man said without hesitation, "Of course it is to become rich, and then return home in glory. Then look at what we are like now." What's the difference between us and those homeless people and beggars on the roadside? The difference is, the fat man looked at the guys who were warming themselves by the fire and drinking not far away. They have wine to drink, but we don't. Feiyang. Remember, this is America. This is Hollywood. There is gold everywhere. Feiyang's eyes shot out a blazing light, like a man-eating beast. As long as you have the courage and the guts, you can become the owner here and become a well-deserved super tycoon. But look at what we are doing now. What should we do? We have no money now, and we don't even have an ID card. The fat man spread his hands and said, money can be earned. Feiyang said, and walked straight to a department store. Without waiting for the boss to ask what he wanted, Feiyang said, who is the richest person in the United States? Everyone in the supermarket was stunned, looking at this weird guy. The white boss suddenly said, I don't know about others, I only know that he is very rich. Feiyang looked around and saw a best-selling novel on the shelf. On the cover was a white man wearing thick glasses, with one hand supporting his chin and a mysterious smile on the corner of his mouth. This man is known to all Americans, and Feiyang also knows him. He is the king of terror in the United States. Stephen King. Chapter 4. Focus on creation. In the United States, you may not know who the President of the United States is, you may not know who killed Kennedy, and you may know whether Martin Luther King is black or white, but you must know who Stephen King is! Exclamation mark. Stephen King is a legendary figure, a great American Yin-Yang-style god, a best-selling author known as the King of Horror. By writing horror novels, he not only established his own horror kingdom, but also got involved in the entertainment industry, adapting his novels into TV series and movies, almost all of which were popular. It is said that in terms of the ratio of original works adapted into film and television dramas, Stephen King can rank second, and Shakespeare ranks first. Indeed, although many people have not read his books, they have been obsessed with his movies, the most famous of which are The Shawshank Redemption and The Shining. But what interests Feiyang the most is that this guy actually earned hundreds of millions of dollars in royalties by writing horror novels. Damn, it's even more cruel than robbery. Then Feiyang had a bold idea. Since Stephen King can make hundreds of millions of dollars by writing horror novels, why can't he? Exclamation mark. Picking up Stephen King's collection of short horror stories from the supermarket shelf, Feiyang said, "Fatty, pay the bill," and walked away. The fat man yelled behind him, "Why me again? I don't have any money." "No, Yang, it's already so late. Are you still interested in reading novels?" "Boss, let's make a deal. 40% off? 80% off is also fine." The fat man took off his shoes and took out a few crumpled US dollars from the insoles. "Poor, my private money, damn Yang." As stowaways, the doghouse where Feiyang and the fat man lived was definitely not a high-end apartment, of course, nor a cozy cottage, but a dilapidated old apartment. This old-fashioned apartment is said to have a history of more than 100 years. When there were still a large number of black slaves in the United States, it had already stood here. It was a miracle that it could still serve its owner after being repaired and patched up. Every time Feiyang slept in the kennel, he wondered if he would be buried by the sudden collapse of the house. A great hero would rather die in the arms of a beautiful woman than die in obscurity. Feiyang and his family lived on the third floor of this small apartment. When they walked in the corridor from the second floor to the third floor, the fat man was still nagging, saying that Feiyang was not doing his job properly. At this time, he was still buying some crappy novels and complaining about his private money. Feiyang turned around and gestured to the fat man, signaling him to shut up. The fat man understood what he meant and had to shut up and stick out his tongue. Mrs. Lawrence, the landlady, was a good person and never asked for rent in person. But for a freak like Feiyang, if you were a bad guy, he would be worse than you. If you were a good person, then he would be embarrassed to owe you money. So Feiyang and the fat man walked lightly, trying not to disturb Mrs. Lawrence, who lived on the second floor. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Suddenly, poof, a melodious little fart like a serenade. The fat man covered his buttocks and said, "Sorry, I ate a large plate of soybean cakes in the restaurant before." Feiyang waved his fists like he was performing a pantomime. The fat man stuck out his tongue and acted innocent. Fortunately, there was no movement in the room on the second floor. The two continued to move forward quietly. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. They were about to reach their destination, and suddenly, meow. A cat's cry broke the silence they had carefully created. Oh, damn it. Feiyang cursed fiercely, and the familiar Italian purebred cat in front of him quickly got into the next room. Then, as expected, "Is it my dear Yi?" Mrs. Lawrence's kind voice came from the room. Feiyang had to scratch his scalp and laugh dryly. "Yes, it's sis. Sorry Mrs. Lawrence, we came back a little late. Did we wake you up?" "Oh no, it's okay." Mrs. Lawrence pushed the wheelchair out of the room, and the cat on her knees was scratching its beard at Feiyang and the others mischievously. "Ahem, that, we owe you rent." Feiyang decided to be honest. "Maybe I'll give it to you later." "Oh, it's okay, Yi." Mrs. Lawrence smiled. "Although you haven't lived here for a long time, I know you well. For example, this old floor, if you didn't help to repair it, it would have been scrapped long ago." Feiyang shrugged, thinking of how much he had suffered in order to repair these broken floors. "By the way, Mrs. Lawrence, it's so late. Why aren't you sleeping yet? As for me, I'm so happy that I can't sleep. My granddaughter Annie is coming to see me soon." "Haha," Mrs. Lawrence said with a smile. Feiyang didn't know how to comfort this lonely old lady. Mrs. Lawrence often said something like this, saying that her granddaughter was coming to visit her, and from time to time she told Feiyang and others about some of her granddaughter's naughty things when she was a child. But this granddaughter never showed up. Feiyang even suspected that Mrs. Lawrence was old and had a fantasy disorder, and she had invented a well-behaved and charming granddaughter. "Look, Yi, my granddaughter is only a little younger than you. She is a beauty, as you can tell from her lovely name, Anne Hathaway. Haha, she dances very well too. Do you want me to introduce her to you?" Mrs. Lawrence liked this Chinese guy very much. He was very charming, no matter how he spoke or did things. Feiyang knew the old lady was joking, so he said, "Okay, if she is as charming as you, I promise, I will chase her and make her my girlfriend." The fat man was stupid and reminded from the side, "We haven't got that yet. Why are you chasing after a girlfriend?" Feiyang kicked him, and the fat man finally came to his senses and said quickly, "You are handsome. It's normal for you to chase after a girlfriend. Mrs. Lawrence, do you have any granddaughters? Introduce one to me." Lawrence chuckled. "I only have one granddaughter, but I have some fruit salad here. Do you want to try it?" "Okay." The fat man was overjoyed and was about to go inside. Feiyang grabbed his collar and pulled him back. "No, Mrs. Lawrence, it's very late. You should go to bed early. We have to work tomorrow." "Then, Yi, good night." "Good night." The fat man was unhappy and muttered softly, "I was fired a long time ago. What's the point of having a job?" When they left, the little cat on Mrs. Lawrence's knees meowed again. Feiyang turned back and glared at it fiercely. The little cat suddenly got into Mrs. Lawrence's arms, then poked its head out, as if provoking. After returning to his doghouse, Feiyang couldn't wait to read Stephen King's novels. The fat man was fat and relaxed, and he buried his head in sleep. The reason why Feiyang wanted to read Stephen King's novels was mainly to see the model of American horror novels. However, Feiyang soon discovered that there was a big difference between American novels and Chinese novels. Specifically, American novels paid great attention to psychological descriptions. Feiyang understood that it was okay for him to make up stories, but the writing style was. But he couldn't care less. Someone who decided to plagiarize first investigated Stephen King's creative information in this world and found that many of his excellent novels had not yet been created. Information about Stephen King flashed quickly in Feiyang's mind. It is now 1998. Next year, his new work The Green Mile will be put on the big screen and become another classic in Hollywood movies. In addition, there are several other movies such as The Green Mile, Ride the Bullet and 1408, which have not yet been created. What will happen if I turn the stories that Stephen King will make into movies into short stories and sell them? Exclamation mark. It can be said that The Green Mile, Ride the Bullet and 1408 all had good box office and reputation in the past life. especially 1408, which Feiyang loves very much. He has watched it no less than 5 times. What should I do? I love all 3 movies. Which one should I rewrite? Exclamation mark. Feiyang hesitated for a while and finally said, "Let God decide. Point to the soldiers, point to the thief. Whoever you point to is the one." Feiyang pointed back and forth among the 3 movies and finally chose the target, 1408. The story of this play is about a horror novelist named Mike who likes to explore haunted places with scientific equipment to collect writing materials. This time he chose a dolphin hotel. Despite the strong dissuasion of the hotel manager, he moved into room 1408, where many guests had committed suicide. Then the real horror began. He did it right away. But Feiyang soon found out that there was a pen, but no paper at home. Oh my god. God, your mother. You don't want to kill me, do you? You just gave me hope, and now you hit me so deeply. But I won't give in. I just want you to see that I, Feiyang, must stand out. Feiyang waved his fist at the thief god, and then began to look for paper everywhere. Soon, he found a lot of collection notices. All kinds of collection notices of various names, including electricity bills, water bills, gas bills, and telephone bills. In short, a lot of them. These collection notices were left by the previous owner and unlucky guy, of course. Some of them were from Feiyang and Fatty. Although they don't have ID cards or green cards now, it doesn't stop people from collecting their fees. Feiyang sighed. Look, what kind of life is he living? Exclamation mark. He flipped open the back of a collection notice and was surprised to find that it was Snow White. Not bad, at least I can write on it. Feiyang decided that this would be his own manuscript paper. A great work does not depend on what kind of paper it was created on, but on how attractive its story is. Feiyang comforted himself. One day, these collection notices filled with my stories will be collected by many museums. Chapter 5. Quick Writer. The alarm clock on the wall was ticking. It was pitch black outside, and occasionally a gust of night wind blew in, carrying the unique glitz of Hollywood. Yawn. Feiyang didn't know how long he had been writing. His wrists were extremely sore, and most importantly, his head was aching. I'm so sleepy. As expected, writing is not an easy thing. Feiyang began to admire those creative gods. Like himself, he already had a very detailed storyline in his mind, but he was still so hardworking and tired when writing a novel. Those writers who only conceived the outline needed to revise it again and again. To be honest, they are really geniuses. Hey, why is it dawn? Feiyang looked at the window and saw a ray of bright sunlight shining in from the window on the originally dark window. It turned out that he had been writing all night without realizing it. Looking at his own achievements, a large stack of manuscripts, at least 3,000 or 4,000 words. Fortunately it was a short story. If it was a long novel, wouldn't it be exhausting to death? Exclamation mark. Fortunately, it was almost finished. Feiyang stretched his body and continued to work hard. On the bed next to him, the fat man was wearing big flowered shorts, with his butt sticking out, still sleeping soundly. The fat man slept in a very coquettish posture, with his big face pressed against the pillow, drooling, his fat buttocks raised high, and scratching his buttocks from time to time. At this time, the fat man had no idea that his good brother was working hard and struggling for his dream. Half an hour later, when Feiyang wrote the last word, he was almost exhausted. Finally, it's done. Feiyang, you have taken the first step towards success. Feiyang looked at the manuscript and encouraged himself. Keep up the good work. As long as you send this novel manuscript out, let the king of horror Stephen King take a look, let him comment on it, and you will be saved. Feiyang's plan was very shrewd. With his unknown personality, if he really submitted his manuscript directly to a newspaper, 8 to 9 times it would be rejected, not to mention that he was a Chinese who had smuggled in, so his chances of success were even lower. With Stephen King's comments, it's different, just like riding a rocket and soaring into the sky. Of course, as the famous king of horror in the United States and a master of the novel world, Stephen King would never easily give comments to anyone, especially an unknown newcomer. But Feiyang just wanted to take a gamble. After all, this novel was adapted from a future Stephen King movie, so there should be resonance anyway, right? Exclamation mark. After making up his mind, Feiyang got up and carefully sorted out the manuscript. Only then did he feel weak and exhausted. No, he had to replenish his energy. Feiyang walked over and opened the old refrigerator, took out fresh eggs from it, took out a glass, beat 10 in a row, filled the glass, and then stirred it with chopsticks, tilted his neck, and drank it all in one breath. Drinking 10 raw eggs in one breath was a habit that Feiyang had developed in his previous life. Just like many people like to drink coffee in the morning, he likes to drink raw eggs. This habit is very nutritious and has a significant effect on replenishing physical strength. After drinking the raw egg in the glass, Feiyang took a deep breath and began to do sit-ups. At first, he did it with both palms, then 5 fingers, then 2 fingers, and finally, 1 hand behind his back, and 1 hand on the ground, once, twice, 3 times. His arms were muscular, and his limbs outlined a kind of vigorous beauty. After doing more than 500 sit-ups, Feiyang, who had finished warming up, jumped up and started punching in the narrow room. He was seen sinking his ki into his dantian, his strength flowing through his arms, slowly taking a step forward, and then punching hard. At first, the fist was silent and seemed to have little power, but as his pace quickened, the fist began to bring out wind and whirring. Fatty Gao Jiabao was scratching his butt on the bed, and Feiyang punched the bench supporting his bed. With a crack, the bench broke apart, and the unlucky fat man rolled off the bed like a rolling gourd, and with a bang, his head hit the ground hard. Oh my god. The fat man rubbed his head. This is the 10th time. My head can't stand the test of your fist anymore. Gao Jiabao complained a lot about Feiyang's boxing practice every morning, because every time Feiyang got angry, he, the fat fish, would be in trouble. He was already very distressed to find several benches from the garbage dump to support the bed, so that even the beggars on the street thought he was recycling second-hand furniture. Sorry, Feiyang, I used too much force just now. It's not that you used too much force just now, it's that you always use too much force. I really don't understand. What's the use of your boxing practice so well? It can't be eaten as a meal. On the contrary, the more you practice, the faster you get hungry. For example, I gurgle. The fat man's stomach began to drum. No more talking. Let's get something to eat first. The fat man opened the refrigerator and saw that it was almost empty. Looking at the pile of eggshells next to it, it goes without saying that the eggs he had just bought were all put into Feiyang's stomach. The fat man was miserable. Now I know why we can't save money. With your way of drinking eggs, even if I'm a millionaire, I can't support you. Why are you talking so much? Didn't I leave a few for you? Feiyang said, while wiping his face with a towel. The fat man looked at the few leftover eggs in the refrigerator. What are you looking at? I'm studying whether this is an egg or a pigeon egg, the fat man said seriously. No matter, let's make a few poached eggs first. The fat man packed up his things and came to the public kitchen in the corridor. A group of Indians lived opposite him. At this moment, an Indian was making a fragrant curry chicken. Come on, eating curry chicken early in the morning, not afraid of getting angry. The fat man sniffed. The Indian guy opposite was very friendly. He pointed at the dishes he cooked and said to the fat man, "Hey, friend, do you want some?" The fat man covered his mouth. No, I'm afraid of spicy food. Then he pointed at his eggs. I like to eat this. Eggs work. The Indian guy nodded and gave a thumbs up. Eggs are good, nutritious. Gurgle. The water boiled and the fat man started to beat the poached eggs. When the Indian guy went into the house, the fat man tiptoed over. Wow, my hands are burning. Gritting his teeth, he took the curry chicken and the pot together. Feiyang, hurry up, there's something delicious. The fat man greeted Feiyang very generously. Where did you get it from? Eat it if you have it, don't worry about it. The two of them wolfed down and soon finished a pot of curry chicken. The Indian guy outside was cursing. Oh, shit. Not only did you steal my curry chicken, but you also stole my pot. In the bedroom, you can't be. Feiyang looked at the fat man in surprise. Fatty, hush, keep your voice down. He began to destroy the body. After eating and drinking, Feiyang threw off his clothes and put on his treasured suit in front of the mirror. He bought this suit from a street stall for $10. Although it is not a famous brand, it looks particularly energetic on him. In the mirror, Feiyang's eyebrows are deep in his temples, his eyes are like lakes, and his handsome face is enough to charm many women. The fat man looked at Feiyang from behind and said, "Alas, if you are willing to put down your face and become a gigolo, I guess we would have become rich a long time ago." Feiyang turned around and slapped the fat man on the forehead. "A man can be poor, but he can't be without dignity." The fat man touched his head. "I'm just saying it, don't take it so seriously." "Hey, where are you going so neatly?" Feiyang, "To send a manuscript." "What manuscript?" "The novel I wrote last night." "Ah, you can write a novel? Is it true?" The fat man looked at the thick manuscript in Feiyang's hand and couldn't believe it. "I read Stephen King's book last night, didn't I?" "You're kidding me. You can write just by reading a book. Then everyone in the world would be a writer. Believe it or not." Feiyang left the room without waiting for the fat man to ask. The fat man was anxious. "Wait for me, I'll go too." He hurriedly put on his clothes and chased after him. As soon as he left the house, the Indian stopped him. "Hey, man, did you see who stole my curry chicken?" "No, I didn't see anyone." "Ugh." The fat man burped melodiously, with a strong smell of curry. On the street, looking at the manuscript slipping into the mailbox, Feiyang seemed to see the future and hope. The fat man next to him squatted on the ground, muttering, "If the novel you wrote tonight can be turned into money, this mailbox is not a mailbox, but a magic house." Feiyang gave him a slap. "Good things don't work, but bad things do. Can't you say something auspicious?" The fat man curled his lips, then put his hands together and said to the mailbox, "Listen carefully, great mailbox god, there is no one Taisin temple here. I can only ask you to have mercy and bless a Yang's novel to soar to the sky and become a sensation. Bless me to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks in the future. Bless us to become prosperous quickly and become famous in Hollywood. Amitabha, Jesus bless you." Feiyang. Chapter 6. I'm God. Hope is beautiful, but reality is cruel. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. It seemed that the fat man's bad words really came true. Since Feiyang sent the manuscript of the novel to Stephen King, it has been like a stone sinking into the sea, without any movement. As the days passed, Feiyang, who was originally full of confidence, began to worry. What's going on? Did it not arrive? Or did the other party not take him seriously at all? Exclamation mark. Feiyang began to feel restless. He wanted to call to ask, but he didn't know the other party's home number. He wanted to visit in person, but he felt that it was too abrupt. What should I do? Feiyang scratched his head. The fat man didn't think much of this ghost novel created overnight. There is no good thing if it's cheap. Besides, the fat man didn't think Feiyang had the talent to write novels from the beginning to the end. Most people who can write novels are literary stars descended to the earth. Ah Yang is so good at fighting, he should belong to the martial star. Literary and martial arts have different paths, so I advise him not to daydream. Feiyang was not convinced. He ignored the fat man's dissuasion and thought, if one book is not enough, then I will write a few more. So he buried his head in creation like crazy and created the 2 classics he had originally kept, Dream Robbery and Riding the Bullet. The story of the dream catcher takes place in a remote town called Delhi. 4 boys who grew up together decided to complete an extraordinary justice mission with their own strength. They united and fought side by side. Finally, they bravely accomplished this great thing. Afterwards, they all received a magical power as a reward for them. In his previous life, when Feiyang watched this play, he was in a video hall filled with smoke and sweat. At that time, the movie was not called The Dream Catcher, but Dream Catcher. The owner of the video hall advertised it as an American science fiction blockbuster and fooled many people into watching it. In the end, they all felt it was a rip-off. However, Feiyang felt that the movie was very interesting. Although it lacked visual impact, the story was very strong. Compared with the weird friendship in The Dream Catcher, Ride the Bullet seems a bit scary and neurotic. It is said that this novel was written by Stephen King in his previous life, based on his own death experience. It mainly tells the story of a person who encountered a ghost on the way home in the middle of the night. As the saying goes, the more unknown, the more terrifying. In this foggy night, is the guy you meet a ghost or a human? It makes people think about their past lives. It can be said that these two plays were good movies in their previous lives, especially Riding the Bullet, which was Stephen King's first novel published on the internet. Once it came out, the number of clicks exceeded 100 million, making a big leap for American internet literature. For 3 whole days, Feiyang almost didn't eat or drink, and wrote day and night. When he finished writing 2 short stories, he was disheveled and almost lost a circle. As a good friend, the fat man felt distressed. He didn't understand why Feiyang insisted so much. Feiyang didn't say much and continued to mail the newly written novels. There was only one thought in his mind: so many novels, even if Stephen King couldn't be scared, he would be killed. Feiyang didn't know whether Stephen King was killed or not. He only knew that after the 2 novels were mailed out, they fell into the sea again. America, his fucking bullshit dream. Feiyang cursed to the sky. In the following days, Feiyang stood at the street intersection, watching the postman to see if any of them turned towards his place, but sadly, no one looked over here, as if all the women here were infected with syphilis. On this day, Feiyang stood at the intersection as usual, smoking a cigarette, surrounded by smoke, and with his disheveled hair and dirty face, he gave people a sense of decadence with a strong literary atmosphere. The fat man waited behind him with some concern, fearing that he would do something extreme. Feiyang took a puff of cigarette until the firework burned his fingers, then he threw the cigarette butt away and crushed it on the ground. At this moment, the fat man shouted, "Here he comes, Feiyang, the postman is coming this way." Feiyang hurriedly looked over there, but saw that the postman was walking towards him. Feiyang was excited. "Is there a chance?" Exclamation mark. At that moment, Feiyang even remembered the classic lyrics of Huazei's previous life. "I have waited for a long time and finally waited until today. I have dreamed for a long time and finally realized my dream." But just when Feiyang wanted to greet him, the white postman looked around, then spit and muttered, "Shit, I took the wrong road," and turned back. Feiyang was speechless on the spot. Next to him, the fat man said in a very lose-on way, "Don't lose heart, hope doesn't matter if you have it or not." Feiyang gritted his teeth. "Without money, you don't have a green card. Without a green card, you are a black man and you have to live in hiding. Damn bear, I'm tired of this kind of life." Feiyang roared. Then he strode forward without saying anything. The fat man behind him was anxious. "Feiyang, what's wrong with you? What are you going to do?" "What? I want to get a green card. I don't want to live like this anymore." "Are you crazy? How is that possible?" The fat man opened his arms to stop Feiyang. "If you go out like this, you might be caught by the police." Feiyang pushed the fat man away. "Don't stop me. I even opened the golden finger, but God still doesn't help me." "Well, if he doesn't help me, I will help myself." "What golden finger? What doesn't help you?" The fat man was puzzled. "Feiyang, don't worry about it. I just ask you, are you willing to live like this?" "Nonsense, of course not." "Well, let's go get the green card together." Feiyang turned around and left. "Hey, Yang, walk slower, I can't catch up with you." The fat man chased after Feiyang. "I understand what you said just now, but we have no money and no job now. How can we get a green card?" "You should think the other way around. With a green card, we can do any job." "That sounds good." The fat man's face became even more miserable. If a green card is really that easy to get, there wouldn't be so many people working secretly and being bullied. It's not easy to get by in the United States. If we can't get by, we might as well sneak back to Hong Kong. After all, that's our territory, with food, drink and a place to sleep. In fact, it's not bad to think about it. Just think of it as traveling to the United States. We can have fun and then go back. When we meet people, we can brag that we have eaten American fried chicken legs and seen American big-breasted foreign girls. The fat man kept chattering to Feiyang. "I'm not lying to you. We have been stuck here for 3 months. We must find a way to get a green card no matter what." Yi Feiyang said loudly. That requires connections. I've already found out the connections. Yi Feiyang said, go to Chinatown and find Toy. Many people in this area have bought goods from him, a real green card. With it, you can walk freely in the United States. Toy, I've heard of him too, but I heard that the price he asks for is not cheap. Now we are naked, how can we buy a green card? The fat man quickly caught up with Yi Feiyang and asked loudly. Yi Feiyang stopped and suddenly walked to the trash can next to him. He picked up a few newspapers and folded them into a ball. Look, here it is, isn't it? Fatty, no way, this works. Trust me, as long as you are brave enough and have a plan, there is nothing you can't do in this world. Yi Feiyang said, grabbing the fat man's shoulders. But, no buts. Yi Feiyang turned around and strode towards Chinatown with the fat man. A dirty old man on the side of the road shook a tin can in his hand. Give me some alms, kind-hearted man. Yi Feiyang took out a coin from his pocket, flicked his thumb, and with a clang, the coin fell accurately into the tin can. May God bless you, young man. Yi Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth. From now on, I'm my own god. Chapter 7. The Arrogance of Chinatown. Chinatown has always been the world of Chinese people. Here you can see all kinds of Chinese tea houses and restaurants. You can see lanterns and bird cages hanging everywhere. There are also various archways and buildings with carved beams and painted walls. There are more retro tank suits and xiangsums. Coming to Chinatown, you feel like you are back home. At least Yi Feiyang feels this way. The fat man looked around. Since coming to the United States, he and Yi Feiyang have been working in restaurants for others and have never walked around like this. The fat man is very curious. How can this place be more ancient than Hong Kong? Exclamation mark. Toy's very famous in Chinatown. Of course, this reputation is not a good reputation. He is involved in almost all kinds of pornography, gambling and drugs. So Yi Feiyang easily found out his address. This is a large-scale mahjong parlor. At this moment, it is full of smoke and mahjong sounds. A curly-haired man wearing a plaid dress and a thick gold dog chain is leaning against the wall, smoking and watching the surrounding movements. Yi Feiyang asked the fat man to wait outside, and he pushed open the door and walked in with an attitude of a master. I want to see Master Tuo. Yi Feiyang said to the curly hair who was watching the place without any courtesy. Curly hair held a cigarette in his mouth and looked at Yi Feiyang with a squint. What do you want to see him for? Buying goods. What goods? Green goods. Curly hair looked at Yi Feiyang again. Did you bring the money? Yi Feiyang patted the bulging newspapers. Look, it's all here. Come with me. Curly hair threw away the cigarette butt and then took Yi Feiyang to the back door of the Sparrow House. After the back door, there was a long and narrow corridor, and at the end of the corridor, there was a metal door. Long hair knocked on the door skillfully with 3 long and 1 short knocks. Soon, the metal door opened. A strong man came out from inside. What are you doing? I'm here to pick up the goods. Bring the money. Curly hair said with a smile. The strong man looked at Yi Feiyang. Yi Feiyang showed the thick stack of newspapers in his hand. The sturdy man then opened the door. Come in. Yi Feiyang just stepped in. Don't move. The sturdy man began to search him up and down. It seems that this camel master has many enemies, which makes him so nervous. Yi Feiyang opened his arms. Friend, please hurry up. I'm afraid that the old man camel master can't wait. Also, don't tickle my armpits. I'm ticklish. So much nonsense. The sturdy man pushed him impatiently, and Yi Feiyang shrugged and walked forward. His vision became wider, and Yi Feiyang saw that this was an underground warehouse. In the center of the warehouse, there were sofas and tables. A hunchbacked old man was eating egg fried rice in big mouthfuls, eating it so much that the rice grains flew, and on both sides of him, there were 2 big men in black clothes standing with their hands on their waists, with ferocious faces, and they were not good people at first glance. Haha, needless to say, you are the camel master. Yi Feiyang smiled and walked forward. The fried rice in this Zhonghua building is getting better and better. Toy, who was eating fried rice crazily, suddenly looked up at Yi Feiyang. Do you want to try it? Toy is treating me. Of course I have to try it. Yi Feiyang reached into the plate without hesitation and grabbed a handful of rice and took a big bite. It tastes good. It's chewy. Toy didn't expect Yi Feiyang to really dare to touch his things. Too arrogant, too much of an outsider. Does he not understand the rules, or does he have something to rely on? Exclamation mark. Seeing the boss being embarrassed, the two big men in black clothes next to him showed ferocious faces. Toy winked at them, and they didn't move. What do you want to see me for? Toy took out a handkerchief to wipe his mouth. I came to you to get a green card. I heard that only you, Toy, have magical powers here. Name a price. How much? Yi Feiyang licked the rice on his fingers, looking unsatisfied. Toy smiled. Doing business, I like it. 8,000 per piece, no bargaining. Yi Feiyang threw the folded newspaper on the table. Here's the money, give me 2. Toy, okay, straightforward. He reached out to open the newspaper. He opened one layer, it was a newspaper. He opened another layer, it was still a newspaper. In the end, it was all worthless money, it was all waste paper. Toy smiled, a very sinister smile. You little bastard, dare to play tricks on me? Swish. The big men in black standing with their hands on their hips, pulled out their old bulls from their waists, and the shining long knives were shining coldly. It is believed that as long as Toy gives an order, these two guys will chop Yi Feiyang into a meat paste. Yi Feiyang raised his hands obediently. Uncle Tuo, it's just a joke. You can't afford to play it so badly, can you? You mother. I'm in my 50s or 60s. What's the point of playing with you? I think you're a birthday man who has eaten arsenic. You're tired of living. Uncle Tuo stood up and walked to Yi Feiyang, patted his shoulder, then leaned close to his face and said, don't blame me for being cruel. You asked for it. Yi Feiyang still had a smile on his face. Uncle Tuo, you are also a senior. Is there no room for negotiation? Haha, let me discuss something with you. Uncle Tuo was stuck in the middle of his words, only to see Yi Feiyang open his mouth and spit out a blade from his tongue, the sharp edge of the blade facing the artery on Uncle Tuo's neck. Uncle Tuo, now, can we have a negotiation? Yi Feiyang stared at Uncle Tuo, whose face had changed color, with a smile. Grandpa Tuo, who had experienced countless great battles, did not expect that he would capsize in the ditch. Boy, do you think you can get out safely by doing this? Go out? Why should I go out? I finally got in, didn't I? Yi Feiyang pretended to be crazy and stupid, which made Grandpa Tuo completely annoyed. Tell me, what do you want? It's very simple. Give me a green card, and we can make a deal. Impossible. This is against the rules. Rules are made by people, aren't they? The thin blade gently slid across Grandpa Tuo's neck. Grandpa Tuo gritted his teeth. Okay, let's make a deal. You help me collect a debt, and as long as you get it, I will give you a green card. Who? How much? A damn American, nicknamed Bill Rabbit, who is in the underground movie business. The account is $30,000. Haha, it seems very difficult for even you, Grandpa Tuo, to collect the debt. Nonsense. The main reason is that the guy runs fast and he escapes every time he gets stuck. Okay, I like catching rabbits the most. I'll take this job. Yi Feiyang took a step back, which was considered to be relaxing Toy. Toy's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Aren't you afraid that I will regret it? Of course I'm not. But I think you, Toy, are also a big shot. If you talk like farting, what's the point of being a bird? Yi Feiyang said with a smile. Toy, who was originally about to take action, suddenly smiled. Okay, I admire you. Thank you for your compliment, Toy, then see you next time. Yi Feiyang slapped the table. With a bang, the whole table collapsed. Toy and others were dumbfounded. Sorry, I was a little heavy, but you should change this table. Change it to a solid wood one, preferably mahogany furniture. I know there is one at the corner of Chinatown. The price is fair and it's honest. Yi Feiyang laughed and turned around and walked out. Looking at Yi Feiyang's back, the two big men beside him asked Grandpa Tuo, do you want to catch up with him? Catch up with him? If you catch up with him, can you be his opponent? The two big men looked at the table that was broken apart by a slap and said nothing. This kid is quite interesting, but the 30,000 yuan is not easy to catch. Even if he finds the person, he may not be able to get the money, because it is a dead account. Grandpa Tuo said gloomily. Grandpa Tuo is wise. Grandpa Tuo is mighty. Stop flattering me. Go, change the furniture for me, the one at the corner of the street. Then, do you want mahogany? Grandpa Tuo. It hurts. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Plan for the first pot of gold. When Yi Feiyang walked out of the Chinatown birdhouse unscathed, he waved coquettishly at the confused gatekeeper Curly. No need to send me off. You can take a rest. Goodbye. Sayonara. Curly scratched his forehead and thought, damn it, I know you well. Send me off a bird. When the fat man Gao Jiabao saw Yi Feiyang coming out, he hurried out from the dark. Ayang, how are you? Did they make things difficult for you? Are you injured? He touched Yi Feiyang all over. Yi Feiyang kicked him away. KO, are you taking advantage of me, or are you concerned about me? Of course I'm concerned about you. You haven't come out for so long. I'm almost worried to death. If you come out later, I might call the police. Seeing Gao Jiabao's genuinely anxious look, Yi Feiyang was a little moved. Putting his arm around his shoulder, Yi Feiyang said, how is it? Did it hurt when you kicked me just now? Of course it hurts. You kicked me so hard. Then I'll kick you less next time. No way, you're kicking me again. Ayang, how did the negotiation go? We don't have any money. Will he help us get a green card? No. What should we do? Make a deal. What deal? Seeing the fat man chattering on, Yi Feiyang told him the whole story. Debt collection? That's terrible. How can we collect debts? We are unfamiliar with the place, and it's almost the same as being chased by others. Don't worry. Yi Feiyang patted the fat man. There will always be a way out when you reach the mountain. Besides, I'm here. What are you afraid of? Yi Feiyang's confidence made the fat man feel much more at ease. However, the fat man immediately found a problem. Why did he become more and more dependent on the other party? It was not like this before. Since Feiyang woke up from his coma, he seemed to have become a different person, becoming, how should I put it, more and more confident. 3 days later, Yi Feiyang in the fat man's base, the doghouse. The surroundings were in a mess, with pants, socks, and dirty clothes piled up in a big pile. The fat man squatted on the ground like a housekeeper, rubbing the clothes in the big wooden basin. From time to time, the soap bubbles floated on his face, making the fat man look embarrassed. As for Yi Feiyang, he was busy reading newspapers, a lot of newspapers. Since he decided to rely on himself, Yi Feiyang has developed a habit of reading at least dozens of newspapers every day, absorbing useful information like a sponge. The Wall Street Journal, the Hollywood Entertainment Journal, the Washington Journal, and even some less famous tabloids were bought and read by him. In the words of the fat man, he was not doing his job properly. Reading newspapers can't make a living, but he spent all his money on buying newspapers. Yi Feiyang ignored the fat man's nagging and continued to do his own thing. When the fat man nagging was too fierce, Yi Feiyang would just throw a pile of dirty clothes to him and say, be good, go wash your clothes. For example, like now. Achoo. The fat man squatting on the ground sneezed because of the bubbles that made his nose itchy. Ayang, stop looking and help me wash the clothes. That's what women do. Don't ask me. But I'm not a woman. Why do I have to wash all the clothes? Because we don't have a washing machine. But, you can't treat me as a washing machine. Who do you think is fat among us? I'm fat. Who needs to lose weight? I do. That's it. Yi Feiyang continued to read the newspaper. Fatty. A moment later. Ayang, I think it's hard to get back at that rabbit Bill. The fat man muttered. It's been a few days, and we only got a photo of him. We don't even know where he is. Even if we know where he is, how can we catch him? I heard that he runs faster than a rabbit, and even toys people can't catch him. There are only 2 of us. How can we catch him? In other words, even if we are lucky enough to catch him, what if he has no money? We can't kill him. Hey, Feiyang, you have learned to use your brain now. Feiyang put down the newspaper and laughed. The fat man was very proud and wiped his face with the back of his hand, and his nose was full of soap foam. Haha, actually I'm also very eye-catching, but I don't usually show off. The main purpose is to give you a chance. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome, you're welcome. Regarding your first question, how to catch the rabbit, I have arranged someone to do it. Arranged someone? Who? Why would they help us? Money makes the world go round. Look outside the window and you'll know. The fat man opened the window and popped his head out, only to see the bright sunshine outside. A woman walking a dog with a sausage. Is it that woman or that dog? Oh my god. Can't you look around again and see what you can see? No, there's nothing else except this. Look carefully. The fat man looked into the distance. It was a small gas station. Several shirtless, tattooed biker gang members were leaning on their motorcycles, laughing and talking nonsense. The fat man's eyes lit up. You mean that biker gang? You're not stupid either. The fat man rolled his eyes, but he couldn't help but admire Feiyang, who could think of using the biker gang to find someone. This trick was really amazing. You know, these bikers have nothing to do after eating all day, so they like to ride their motorcycles around the streets. Maybe they can really find that guy Bill Rabbit. As for your second question, what if you find Bill Rabbit but can't get the money? That's easy to solve. Here, take a look at this. Feiyang threw a newspaper to the fat man. The fat man looked at it in a daze. This is an entertainment newspaper. There is a message outlined with a thick line somewhere on it. Nickelodeon International Channel in the United States plans to launch a large-scale children's cartoon next year, which is made with a lot of money. Wait and see. This cartoon made with a lot of money has been promoted for a long time, but no one knows what it is. The American cable TV station plays mystery to attract children, and now it seems to be very effective. The fat man looked left and right, but he couldn't understand what the mystery was. Only Feiyang knew that this cartoon made with a lot of money would be the world famous SpongeBob SquarePants in the future. The reason why the American cable TV company made it so mysterious is undoubtedly to play the mystery card and manipulate the ratings of this animation when it is broadcast next year. In Feiyang's opinion, this is definitely a good opportunity if it is connected with the underground movie of Bill Rabbit. Imagine if I could make this cartoon of the cable TV company into a movie and send it to the cable executives. What would their expressions be? How would it feel to have the animation masterpiece that I worked so hard to create ruined into a small movie? Then, we can negotiate the price. If you don't want this movie to be circulated and ruin the big plan, you can pay. Blackmail. Yes, blackmail. Feiyang wants to use this seemingly despicable method to make the first pot of gold. In the United States, a country where people laugh at poverty but not prostitution, whether the means are despicable is secondary. The most important thing is who is the big winner. Seeing the fat man's confused look, Feiyang said, "Believe me, Feiyang, if it works well, we can not only get a green card, but also make a lot of money." Fatty, can we? Why not? Feiyang stood up. America is a place full of miracles. Then he put on his coat. "Where are you going?" asked the fat man. Catch rabbits. Chapter 9. You are so cruel. In front of an ice cream stand on the streets of Los Angeles, a thin white man wearing a black and white striped zebra suit and a zebra hat tilted on his head was chatting with two hot beauties. "Hey, dear beauties, do you know that you are just wasting the food standing here eating ice cream so recklessly?" "What do you mean?" The two hot girls chuckled. "What I mean is that you should use your own beauty to become actors or stars instead of standing on such a wide street for people to admire for free. Your beauty is valuable, artistic, and a rare gift from God. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. You can guess what I do by looking at my dress and my natural artistic temperament." The two hot girls were a little confused. "So what do you do?" The thin white man coquettishly took out a business card from the brim of his hat. "Look, this is my business card. I'm an excellent film director, and I often discover those beautiful women with potential to be stars." The two hot girls were fooled by the thin man. They looked through the business card, and their eyes were full of stars of hope to become big stars. The thin man was very proud. This trick of his never failed. There is no beauty who doesn't want to be famous. Just when he was feeling proud, suddenly, "Hi, Rabbit Bill. Who is calling me?" The thin white man turned around and saw a bearded man riding a motorcycle. The bearded man saw that he had found the right guy and was about to catch him, but Bill the rabbit had already run away like a rabbit. The bearded man did not rush to chase him, but put his fingers in his mouth and whistled. Soon, there was a commotion of motorcycles, and a large group of motorcycle gangs emerged from all directions and chased him out. Bill was not called Rabbit for nothing. He had been in the underworld for so long and had been chased hundreds of times, but he always escaped with his own legs. "No one can catch me, Bill the rabbit. No one can." This is Bill's catchphrase. It is also his specialty that he is proud of. There is no way for someone like him who often owes debts and refuses to pay them. He can't survive without special skills. Bill the rabbit ran as hard as he could, and a motorcycle behind him chased him closely. Bill has his own way to deal with this kind of motorcycle rider. He specially chooses to go into small alleys and occasionally overturns a few trash cans to get rid of the damn guy behind him. In the past, this method would definitely work, but today he had to get rid of not one motorcycle, but a whole group of motorcycles. "Oh, shit. Why are these guys chasing me?" Bill was like a stray dog running away in a mess. Run, run, run. Bill overturned several fruit stalls, knocked over a dozen pedestrians, and jumped over baby strollers. He ran away desperately like an acrobat. The relentless motorcycle gangs behind him, buzzing their motorcycles, were like a group of hounds with their belts untied, biting him tightly and not letting go. Bill finally leaned against the wall to catch his breath, and when he looked back, he saw motorcycles surrounding him from three sides. Oh, God. With no escape, Bill had to bury his head in the alley next to him. Puff, puff, Bill panted, and finally could no longer hear the damn motorcycle sound. "Damn you guys, you want to catch me with this ability? Dream on." Rabbit Bill muttered triumphantly, and suddenly he tripped and fell to the ground in a very beautiful dog-eating shit posture. Feiyang bent his legs, leaned against the wall, took back the newspaper in his hand, looked at the thin white man who was tripped by him, and asked, "Sorry, I tripped you." Bill grimaced in pain. "Son of a bitch, who are you?" "As for me, I hired them to catch you." Feiyang shrugged. At this time, the bearded man and his men also chased after them on motorcycles. Because the alley was too narrow, they parked the motorcycle outside. The bearded man started shouting from a distance, "Hey, man, the man has been caught. Where is the rest of the money?" Feiyang smiled, unceremoniously searched Bill's wallet, and casually took out the US dollars in it and threw them to the bearded man. "Not enough." The bearded man counted and said, "Really?" Feiyang began to pull off Bill's pitiful ring, watch, and necklace on his neck, and handed them to the bearded man. "What about these? If it's not enough." He grabbed Bill's hair, then pried open his teeth, revealing a gold tooth inside. "You can also pull this off." The bearded man and the guys were stunned. They had seen ruthless people, but not this cruel. Bill babbled and struggled. Poor guy, no one knew what he was saying. The bearded man rarely found his conscience. "Shit, forget it, it's my bad luck. Let's go." He shouted and led a group of brothers to ride away on a motorcycle. The surroundings were finally quiet. Feiyang let go of Bill, who was like a dead dog. Bill stuck out his tongue and gasped. "Who are you? How did I offend you?" "Haha, you didn't offend me, you offended someone else." "Do you know Mr. Campbell? He asked me to say hello to you." Rabbit Bill finally understood. "I don't have any money. Please kill me." Bang bang bang. Feiyang slapped him on the face with a newspaper without any hesitation. "Idiot. Murder is illegal. How could I do it? Secondly, I want to make it clear that I never thought you could pay me back. I can say that I'm here to help you, not to arrest you." Rabbit Bill was stunned. "What do you mean? I don't understand. Who would believe a guy who chased him like a dog and said he would help him?" Exclamation mark. Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth. "Believe it or not, you have nowhere to go anyway." Then he said in a tempting tone, "You are short of money, and I'm short of money too, so we can work together to make a fortune." When you pay back the debt, I can also get what I want. How great is that? Bill shook his head vigorously. I still don't quite understand. That's right. If you understand, how can I survive in the future? Feiyang said. Okay, let's talk about something practical. I heard that you can make a movie, right? Yes. What's the matter? Bill said vigilantly. He couldn't help but beware of this guy who plundered him clean. I like movies. Feiyang said with a smile. So I want you to help me make a movie. But I'm making porn movies. Ding dong. That's what I want. Feiyang hit Bill's head with a newspaper. And the more porn, the better. Bill didn't understand what Feiyang was doing. He only knew that he could only take one step at a time. Come, let's go see your set, and then let me, your friend, give you some advice. Don't be grateful to me. It's fate that we met. Look at you. You made yourself so embarrassed. Tut tut. It's really heartbreaking. Feiyang adjusted Bill's collar. Bill. Isn't this too shameless? Exclamation mark. Chapter 10. Underground adult film. In Los Angeles, in addition to those large and prestigious film companies, there are also various underground small film companies in the underground world. Of course, these so-called small film companies are not presentable, without licenses, venues, fixed actors, and even less theaters. They are the moles of the movie world, shooting a movie, and moving to another place, filming when there is a movie, and sleeping when there is no movie. The benefits of doing this are also obvious. There is no need to pay taxes, no need to fight for agents, no need to compete for theaters, and no need to worry about snatching actors. Look, man. This is my movie world. We are shooting here. Rabbit Bill took Feiyang and Fatty Gao Jiabao into his set. Several old sets were softly pulled on both sides, and a big bed could be said to be the brightest highlight of the whole scene, because a blonde beauty who was obviously an actress on the big bed saw Feiyang and the others coming in, and hurriedly got up and put on clothes. That's right, she was putting on clothes. Because before, she was almost naked. The fat man next to Feiyang's eyes were straight. A guy dressed as a wild man came over. Poor guy, except for the bone string around his neck, he was naked all over. Only a large leaf was hanging from the mysterious place under his crotch. Fortunately, the leaf was big and tough enough to avoid making a fool of himself. Hey, Bill, why did you bring outsiders in? And are we still going to shoot this movie? The wild man was very unhappy that Bill brought outsiders to visit suddenly. Bill spread his hands. Oh, sorry, Big Bird Lukey, they are my friends. They just want to come here to see it. Feiyang couldn't help laughing at such a scene. Haha, it's interesting. The fat man Gao Jiabao next to him stared at the blonde beauties who were looking for clothes to cover their shame. Heaven, this is. Bill, what kind of movie are you shooting? Feiyang asked. Bill Rabbit shrugged. Haven't you figured it out yet? Such a sexy beauty, such a wild birdman. Could it be Beauty and the Beast? Ha, dear ye, you really have a brain for movies. Yes, we are shooting this kind of movie, but we need to change one word. It's not Beauty and the Beast, but Beauty and the Savages. How about it? Isn't it cool? Bill said proudly. Feiyang, how much can you get after selling this kind of movie? Well, Bill Rabbit thought about it alertly. You know, the underground movie market has its own rules. We only shoot, not distribute. Selling it to those distributors, we can make at most 10,000 or 8,000. Including costs? Yes, including costs. That means you can make at most $10,000 after excluding costs? Yes, that's right. Bill nodded. Well, my friend. Feiyang patted Bill's face. If you do what I say, I promise that the money you earn will be multiplied several times. Oh god, really? When he heard that he could earn double the money, Bill the Rabbit's face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum, making people want to stab him. The fat man Gao Jiabao who followed Feiyang was also happy. In the past, he could only watch the videotapes, but now he can watch the live show directly. Of course it's true, if I were to be the screenwriter. Feiyang smiled. Be a screenwriter? No problem. Bill waved his hand. Now, as a producer and director, I announce that you, China Yi, are the new screenwriter of our play. Who cares who the screenwriter is, as long as he can make money? It doesn't matter if he brings an elephant. Everyone get together. Bill's voice was quite loud, and he immediately gathered people together. Come on, this is our new screenwriter, China Yi. Everyone applaud and welcome him. There was sparse applause. Bill, dear Yi, now I will introduce you to the main members of our play. Big Bird Lukey, you have already met her. This is our heroine Natasha. Rabbit Bill introduced a blonde beauty with a hot body and a pair of big breasts that were about to burst the collar to Yi Feiyang. Hello, dear sir. Natasha seemed very shy, but she still took the initiative to shake hands with Yi Feiyang without the slightest flirtation that Yi Feiyang imagined. Are you Russian? Yi Feiyang guessed from Natasha's name and her not so fluent English. Yes, I just came to the United States not long ago, and I'm glad to meet you. In the general impression of people, the heroine of Chengren's film must be charming and likes to flirt with men. In simple terms, she is very good at seducing men, but Natasha in front of him broke Yi Feiyang's impression. Yi Feiyang nodded and looked at another person. This is a man, to be precise, a white fat man, who looks like a panda and is very naive. He is the screenwriter of our play. Oh, or should I say the former screenwriter. His name is Jack Black. Rabbit Bill introduced. Jack Black? Hearing this name, Yi Feiyang's mind naturally flashed with information. A future famous American comedian. His representative works include Skull Rock, Crazy Priest, and Kung Fu Panda. This guy started out as a movie handyman and has done everything: screenwriting, dubbing, editing. He started working behind the scenes until he played a supporting role on the big screen. He can be said to be a very comedic guy. It's true that you can't judge a person by his appearance. Yi Feiyang sighed to himself and then looked up and down at the fat guy in front of him with a very gay look. Fatty Jack felt uncomfortable being stared at by him. He rubbed his curly hair shyly and coughed twice, saying, "Sir, although I don't want to say it, I can't help but say it. Why do you want to take my position as a screenwriter? Why?" Yi Feiyang smiled and retracted his lustful gaze. "Since you are a screenwriter, can you show me your previous script?" "Yes, of course." Fatty Jack raised his chin proudly, and soon, he showed the script he wrote to Yi Feiyang for review. Originally, after knowing the information about this fat man in his mind, Yi Feiyang thought he had caught a great talent, but looking at the script in his hand, the whole page was almost full of or oh, yes, and there were only 7 or 8 real dialogues. Seeing Yi Feiyang staring at the script in a daze, the fat man asked with some pride, "I wonder what you think. Is there anything that needs to be revised?" "Revised? There are a few places that need to be revised." Yi Feiyang took a pen and quickly revised it. "Okay, this should be good." He handed the script back to Jack. Fatty Jack took the revised script and was dumbfounded. He saw that his entire script had been deleted, and it was deleted a lot. "No way. Why did you delete my entire script? Really? Didn't I leave a sentence? I think that line is pretty good." "Really?" Fatty Jack looked through the script carefully and finally found the line that had not been deleted in a very small gap. "Fuck you." Fatty Jack raised his head and said with a sad face, "Woo woo, it's too insulting." Chapter 11. Destroy Your Worldview, SpongeBob SquarePants. The filming site of the underground Chengren film. Yi Feiyang lay leisurely on a chair in the studio, pinching grapes in his hand and putting them into his mouth. These grapes were used during filming, but most of them had been eaten by the uncle-level screenwriter Yi. Next to him, the old screenwriter Fatty Jack squatted on the ground, holding a small notebook in his hand and looking at Yi Feiyang eagerly. Yi Feiyang spit out a grape skin, which happened to stick to Fatty Jack's face. "Sorry, I didn't spit it out accurately, and I lost the target." Yi Feiyang wiped his mouth with a tissue. "But since you are willing to worship me as a teacher and learn screenwriting, then I will teach you a lesson." The fat man had a bitter face. "Who said he wanted to worship me?" Exclamation mark. If the other party hadn't kicked his butt like a bull and forced him to be an apprentice, he wouldn't have done it. Alas, for the safety of his butt and to protect the delicate chrysanthemum from indirect damage, he had to compromise. It's hard to be an apprentice, and it's not easy to be a master either, so you have to learn with an open mind. We Chinese have an old saying that pride makes people fall behind and humility makes people progress. You have to keep it in mind. Come, let me tell you the general plot of my story. Feiyang coughed twice and cleared his throat. In the vast ocean, there is a petrel. Oh no, it should be, in the deep ocean, there is a cute SpongeBob. That's right, the story Feiyang is telling at this moment is the classic American cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants in his previous life. SpongeBob SquarePants is a famous American TV animation series. It will be broadcast on the cable radio station Nickelodeon in 1999, which is next year. The founder is Steven Hillenburg. The animation scene is set in a city called Bikini Bottom on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. The story revolves around the protagonist SpongeBob and his good friends. Because of the humorous plot, entertaining and imaginative, it is loved by many children and adult audiences, and has been translated into multiple languages, becoming a work that has swept the world. Now Feiyang unexpectedly took the lead in editing this classic cartoon that has not yet been broadcast into a Chengren film, which can be said to be a direct destruction of the three views, disregarding the physical and mental health of future children, and blaspheming classic art. Fatty Jack had no idea of someone's sinister intentions, and at this moment he was writing the script as an accomplice to the evil. Pay attention. You must do a good job of characterization and analysis. For example, the male protagonist SpongeBob SquarePants in my story should appear to be a little silly, a little talkative, and a little gossipy. For the male supporting roles, the big guy Patty should appear to be a little idiotic and honest. As for Squidward, he should be a little sophisticated and narcissistic. Mr. Krabs should be portrayed as a miser. Do you know what a miser is? Grandad, Sherlock, Harpagon. If you really don't know, I can introduce you to a Chinese restaurant to refer to a real person. The line should be in line with the public's aesthetic mood. Pay attention. The public I'm talking about is the majority of male friends who like to watch pornographic movies. I don't need to tell you what their preferences are, right? We are all men, and we all know it tacitly. In the past, everyone liked to play with uniform temptations, such as nurses, stewardesses, policewomen, McDonald's girls, etc. Now we want them to change their taste and play with cartoon dolls. Yes, cartoon dolls. They can squeak and say yes, yes, come on at any time. The most important details for screenwriters are the incitement of the plot and the handling of the excitement. Remember my words, the plot is king, the rhythm is the crown, and the rhythm of filming should follow the pace of the audience so that they have a strong sense of substitution, so that they will feel refreshed and feel that watching our film is exciting enough. Feiyang ate grapes without spitting out the grapes and taught Fatty Jack earnestly. Fatty wrote like a god. Under Feiyang's training, he was like a calf in heat, raising his hooves and striding on the road of eroticism. So it is difficult for people to learn well, but it is easy to learn bad things. In fact, the reason why Feiyang wanted Fatty to be his apprentice was, firstly, to win over this little fat man who would have a sense of comedy in the future. Secondly, because he was not familiar with the Hollywood style script. And thirdly, because he was too lazy. Ever since he wrote 3 short stories that were never published in one breath, someone felt a headache when he thought about picking up a pen to write. Fatty Jack didn't know that he had to bend over backwards and become a disciple in order to protect his own ass from being kicked. But as Feiyang analyzed the character's personality, penetrated the plot, and grasped the audience's emotions, Fatty Jack gradually opened his mouth wide, looked dumbfounded, and looked at Feiyang in disbelief. Fatty Jack had never received special screenwriting training, and he had been groping his way up by himself. It can be said that he was self-taught. However, this little talent was not enough to be in the big circle of Hollywood. There was no way. In order to make a living, he started to tinker with this low-level Chengren film. In a word, the situation forced him. But now, the guidance given by Feiyang made him suddenly feel enlightened, and then he saw his own shortcomings and a bright future. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind: this teacher is not covered, he is talented. Nonsense. Feiyang is a veteran, although he doesn't know much about the Hollywood script model, but every sentence he teaches is the essence. For example, the phrase plot is king, rhythm is crown is the core content of any movie. Which movie does not rely on these 2 points to attract the audience? And the sense of substitution he emphasized is not only applicable to movies, but also to any novel story. To put it bluntly, people watch movies and read books just to pursue the pleasure of being involved. Fatty Jack's mood changed very quickly, from being helpless and dissatisfied before to being ecstatic and devoted now, and he began to look up to Yi Feiyang's screenwriting skills. Yi Feiyang had no idea of the huge changes in Fatty Jack's heart. After eating grapes and expressing his own opinions and suggestions, he became a hands-off boss and said, "I will tell you so much for now. You still need to figure out the details yourself. We have an old saying in China that the master leads the way and the practice is up to the individual. Whether you can become a talent in the path of screenwriting in the future depends on your own luck." Fatty Jack nodded firmly. "Master, don't worry, I will definitely work hard." Yi Feiyang was surprised that the fat man called master so sweetly. He was so weak before. However, he was used to being a fool god and had long been accustomed to this change. "Well, very good. Just do what I say, and I will lie here to brainstorm and think about the next details of the filming. You kneel down!" Exclamation mark. Fatty Jack understood and retreated respectfully. Yawn. Yi Feiyang stretched his arms sleepily and yawned. "Being a teacher is quite tiring. I really don't know how those professors and mentors survive. I'd better take a nap first." Someone closed his eyes, held a grape in his hand, rubbed it, and began to think about the next plan. Just as Yi Feiyang was thinking about the plan, a dirty little hand was secretly touching his grapes to eat. Yi Feiyang, with his eyes closed, suddenly reached out and grabbed the little hand easily. "I'll count to 1, 2, 3, and you must come out, otherwise, I'll beat your ass." "I surrender." "You win, buddy," said a childish voice. As the voice sounded, a child of 11 or 12 years old appeared from behind his chair. Chapter 12. American version of Bad Uncle. A child suddenly appeared from the filming site of Qingrun. It was equivalent to a ghost coming out of a sacred church. Look at the boy who came out from behind Yi Feiyang's chair. He is very beautiful and cute, with blue eyes and delicate features. Although there are a few freckles on his face, it will not affect his becoming a handsome man when he grows up. It's just that the clothes he wears are a little dirty. He must be very naughty. The boy has no consciousness of being a thief. He looked at Yi Feiyang and said with a smile, "Your grapes are really delicious. I couldn't help it, so I touched and ate a few. Your butt is very beautiful. I really can't help but want to hit it twice. How about it?" Yi Feiyang imitated his tone and said, "I'm a child. You are an adult. You won't make things difficult for me, right? What do you think?" Yi Feiyang raised his palm. "No, I surrender." "It seems that you have surrendered once. This time it's true." The little boy shrugged. "I can't beat you, so I have to choose to surrender." "Well, since you choose to surrender, then you answer whatever I ask you," Yi Feiyang said seriously. "Is it like interrogating a prisoner?" "Almost. You won't torture me, will you? Like in the movies, banging the table and yelling, or hitting my stomach?" the little boy asked, holding his stomach. "Yi Feiyang, if you're obedient, I won't do that." "Well, I'll be obedient." The little boy sat down on the chair next to him, crossed his hands, and looked like a prisoner in prison. Then he added, "Now I'm ready. You can start interrogating me." Yi Feiyang rolled his eyes. "Then let me ask you, what's your name? Why are you here?" You have to know that this is the set of the Qingrun movie. It's shocking enough that a child suddenly appeared here. How many questions are these? 1 or 2? The little boy blinked his eyes seriously. 2. Then which one do I need to answer first? The little boy continued to ask seriously. Yi Feiyang suddenly felt dizzy. It turned out that interrogating a child was such a troublesome thing. "You can answer whichever one you want first," Yi Feiyang said with a stiff face. "Then I'd better answer my name first." The little boy thought for a while and said, "I have many names. I wonder which one you are asking about." "At home, my parents call me little troublemaker, and at school my classmates like to call me freckles apostrophe. Well, my teacher calls me Ard." I usually like to play football and basketball, but the older kids don't play with me, saying that I'm too short, and I don't like playing with those little brats. It's boring, and they cry when they lose. I have an old dog named Harry, but Harry had dysentery and diarrhea last year and died. I buried it in our garden and erected a tombstone for it, which reads, "My favorite friend Harry rests here." I love Harry very much, really, I love it very much. At that time, I cried every night. The little boy introduced it in great detail, but Yi Feiyang felt very painful to listen to it. Okay, stop. I just want to know your specific name, not some weird nickname. The little boy crossed his arms and shrugged like an adult. Then man, I can tell you, my name is Robert Pattinson. Yes, this is the name in our household registration book. How about it? Does it sound good? Robert Pattinson? Yi Feiyang felt that the name seemed familiar, and when he looked at the handsome appearance of the little guy carefully, he suddenly knew who he was. The future Twilight Man, Robert Pattinson. In the future, a Harry Potter made the glasses man and then people famous, among whom there was a very inconspicuous guy who played the top student of the Magic Academy in the play. Unfortunately, he was unlucky, and he was not as popular as others, and continued to play small roles. Until 2008, this guy's luck turned, and he became a dazzling star of the future by playing the vampire boy Edward Cullen in Twilight. There is no doubt that this star figure who has made a comeback is Robert Pattinson. If nothing unexpected happens, it is this little brat in front of him. Second question, how did you get here? Oh, my uncle brought me here. He works here and said he is a big star, so he brought me here to see him. Your uncle? Yeah, his name is Big Bird Lucky. Why, you don't know him? He said he is a big star, and everyone in Hollywood knows him. Of course, except for those rookies who just came to Hollywood. Little Robert said proudly with his eyes blinked. Yi Feiyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If he remembered correctly, Big Bird Lucky was the leading actor of this sincere film, the guy who was about to play SpongeBob SquarePants. I didn't expect him to flatter himself and pretend to be a big star. Also, he actually brought his nephew to this kind of set. What kind of education is this? Exclamation mark. Ahem, I know him. Of course I know him. Indeed, he is a big star. Yi Feiyang laughed, but do you know what kind of movie he is filming here? Well, he said it's an action movie, a very exciting one. I like action movies, especially Sylvester Stallone. I have watched First Blood starring him 7 times. And Rocky starring him is also very good. My uncle said he is also Sylvester Stallone, but his opponents are all women, very powerful women. My uncle said they all practice a kind of magic skill called star absorbing, and always make him weak. I really don't understand what's so scary about women. The Soviet boxing champion and the Vietnamese are scary. Yi Feiyang was almost defeated by the little brat in front of him, and sighed. Your uncle is a talent. Yes, even he himself said that he is a talent, and those screenwriters who don't use him are idiots. And that new idiot screenwriter insisted on reshooting, making his previous roles in vain. Little Robert said in an adult tone. Idiot screenwriter? Yi Feiyang frowned. Little Robert's eyes rolled. You are not that idiot, are you? What do you think? Yi Feiyang stared at him. Haha, actually I was just joking just now. My uncle said that the new screenwriter is very nice, kind and amiable. Go on, keep writing. Well, I'm sorry, I can't write anymore. Little Robert lowered his head in distress. Yi Feiyang looked at him and said nothing. Little Robert saw that he couldn't even pretend to be pitiful, so he stood on tiptoe and patted Yi Feiyang's shoulder like a little adult. Hey, man, I know you are very angry and sad now, but don't take it too seriously. Everyone gets scolded sometimes. For example, I'm often scolded by Uncle Luki as a troublemaker. Hey, troublemaker, where are you? He said, and Luki appeared at this time. Uncle, I'm here. Robert waved at him. So you're here, little brat. I've been looking for you for so long. I told you not to run around. Big Bird Lucky came over with a smile, and then he found Yi Feiyang was here too. Writer, why are you here too? I'm chatting with your nephew. Oh, what are we talking about? Before Yi Feiyang could speak, little Robert said, we are talking about who is the idiot. Uncle Bird opened his mouth wide. Chapter 13. It's not easy to be a screenwriter. Seeing that Big Bird Lucy was dumbfounded, Feiyang smiled and said, "Yeah, we are talking about which screenwriter is an idiot. Little Robert, who do you think it will be?" That's it. Without waiting for the little brat to answer, Uncle Bird Lucy hurriedly covered his nephew's mouth. "Haha, your topic is quite special. In fact, I have always said that you, screenwriter Yi, are a very good person. You are so young and so handsome. Haha." "Oh, really? Am I that good?" "Your nephew didn't seem to say that," Feiyang said. "Also, he said you are a big star in action movies. Do you want me to tell him what kind of exciting action movies you are shooting?" Lucy couldn't laugh anymore and leaned close to Feiyang's ear. "Please, give me some face. I was wrong, okay? Feiyang, then it depends on your future performance. Don't worry, I will absolutely obey orders." The two of them were chattering here, and little Robert scratched his forehead and couldn't help asking, "What are you talking about?" "I'm telling your uncle what kind of reward you should get for betraying him." Feiyang laughed. "Really? You can get rewards for betraying people?" Robert said in disbelief. "Of course, tell me, what do you want?" "I want to be a big star like my uncle." "Okay, you have ambition. But don't learn from your uncle, he is a bird star." "A bird star? You must become a real big star in the future and play in many movies that the audience likes. For example, you can play a vampire, a very handsome one, so that all girls will fall in love with you." "Can I do it?" the future Twilight man said unconfidently. "Can I play a very handsome vampire?" "Of course you can." Feiyang took off a button from his cuff. "Here, this is our agreement. No matter when, as long as I have that ability, you just give me this button and I will make you a star. Is what you said true?" Little Robert held the button tightly, as if it was the magic pea in a fairy tale. "Of course it's true. I never lie. I will make you a big star. A big one." Little Robert's eyes were full of stars. "Yeah, the very big kind. Bigger than Sylvester Stallone?" "Yeah, bigger than Sylvester Stallone." "What about Arnold?" "You mean Arnold Schwarzenegger? He's also bigger than him." "Great. I'll be a big star in the future." Little Robert jumped up and said. Big Bird Lucky saw Feiyang was so good at coaxing a child and said gratefully, "You are really capable. I have never seen him so happy." Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth and said strangely, "I'm not coaxing him to be happy. What I said is true. Your nephew will be very famous in the future." Then he added, "Hollywood." Lucky shrugged and thought, "Nonsense, bragging without thinking." The simple Chengren version of SpongeBob SquarePants shooting scene. Feiyang, who was a novice screenwriter, directed people to design the set and modify the stage shape. The most important thing was to communicate with his buddy, who was a lighting engineer and prop master, how to light and arrange the props when shooting later. In addition to these, Feiyang also had to take care of the emotions of actors Natasha and Big Bird Luki and others, and told them the outline of the new script. "My requirements are very simple. This is not just a porn film, but a story film. I want you to cooperate with my shooting techniques and use direct and effective cartoon expressions to complete the sincere version of the fairy tale. Do you understand?" Natasha and Big Bird Luki and others shook their heads together. "I don't understand." "Nonsense. Feiyang's words are too profound. In the past, when they filmed AV, no matter whether it was the director or the screenwriter, they only said one sentence to them: work hard." Feiyang scratched his head. Now he understood a little that filming is not that simple. To put it simply, it is to let you show your most innocent and cartoon-like side. For example, Big Bird Luki, what do you think is the best about you? Big Bird Luki shook his crotch very impolitely. "Is this even necessary?" Natasha followed suit and shook her big breasts. Feiyang was almost speechless. "Okay, I can't explain it to you guys. Hey, Fatty Jack, come over and talk to them." Feiyang had no choice but to send Fatty to help. After all, he was a screenwriter before, so he should be able to communicate with them clearly. "Oh, master, here I come." Fatty Jack jumped over like Dumbo. "You guys, your comprehension ability is really too poor. I'm not saying anything bad about you. Look at how hard screenwriter Yi works, writing scripts and rehearsing. He's doing the work of 3 people alone. Even a cow would be almost dead tired, and he's still teaching you earnestly. But after saying so much, you still don't understand. You're really stupid. Fatty Jack scolded you before he even opened his mouth. Feiyang couldn't help it. Okay, get to the point and stop flattering me. Okay, let's get back to the point. Let me tell you how to act this scene. The big bird, Lucy, you, will dress up as SpongeBob SquarePants, wearing a yellow sponge costume, walk up to Natasha, and then say, "Hello, my dear friend, I'm SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm very depressed. Can you make me happy?" Natasha will play the role of Sandy, yes, a beautiful female squirrel with smooth fur. You have to give full play to your feminine charm, seduce him, attract him, tease him, anyway, lead him to the bed. Feiyang thought it was good when he first heard it. At least this fat guy Jack could understand his difficulties, but the scene he talked about next was too ridiculous. Yes, just work hard and work hard. Imagine yourselves as Superman and Superwoman. Use all your passion to light up this poor little bed, make it squeak, and beg for mercy desperately. The fat man spoke with saliva flying and passion all over his body. Other actors, come here. Seeing your bald head, you must be playing the supporting role petite in the script, who has strong limbs, but a simple mind, and a negative IQ. And you, with 2 tentacles, must be the stingy Mr. Krabs who digs his horns until he bleeds. As for you, needless to say, you have 8 legs and a bold green hat, so you must be playing the literary youth Squidward in the play. Listen carefully, your parts will be very simple. When SpongeBob fights Sandy the squirrel, you will form a cheerleading team and cheer for them loudly. Remember, your expression should be excited, exaggerated, and excited. You should have a sense of joy, as if you were struck by lightning. Your movements should be sensational and powerful enough, and you should have the impulse of a little wombat in heat when spring comes. In short, you must remember these 2 points. You are actors and audiences. Success or failure depends on you. You are the soul of our play. Without you, this play is garbage. The director is garbage. The screenwriter is garbage. And I'm garbage. Okay, do you understand what I said? Big Bird Lucci, Natasha and others nodded. Feiyang fainted. KO, this works too. Chapter 14. Shooting Av is also an actor. In fact, since the birth of AV movies, the quality of a play is not judged by the director swinging around with a simple portable camera, nor by how exciting the jokes written by the screenwriter are, or how beautiful the surrounding scenes are, but by whether the heroine in the play is hot and interesting enough, and whether it can make men interested. Of course, these are the opinions of laymen. Feiyang knows very well that no matter what type of movie it is, whether it can eventually attract the audience and make everyone buy it depends on whether the script is good enough. The script, the foundation of a play. As the world's most outstanding AV production place, Japan, in the 1980s, explained this point with a miracle film. That year, the Japanese AV industry, which made countless people yearn for it, gave birth to the best-selling pornographic videotape in history, AGN in the Laundry Shop, which is said to have sold 130,000 boxes. In other words, if these cassettes were put together, they could build 3 Tiananmen squares. The fundamental reason for this miracle is that the script of this play is very exciting, which makes people unable to stop watching. Now, the reason why Feiyang had such high requirements for the script of this play was that he hoped that what he wrote was not just a very low-level underground movie, but a movie with a strong story. Unfortunately, his efforts were in vain, because these guys were all rough and vulgar. The elegant ones could not understand. The low-level ones were understood at a glance. Well, no matter what, Feiyang completely gave up the idea of telling stories and told Bill, the director, "I'm done, you can start." Rabbit Bill had been waiting impatiently for a long time, picked up the portable camera and shouted, "Everyone get ready, start shooting." The blue beach scenery was shaking, and the big fan behind was blowing the scenery, making the waves on the entire scenery seem to come alive, one wave after another. The lights hit the center of the venue. A group of monsters in strange costumes came on stage. Fat Jack wore a pirate hat and dressed up as a one-eyed captain and began to lead the theme song. Big Bird Lucci and others sang along. "Captain, are you ready, children? Children, yes, Captain. Captain. To quiet. Child. Yes. Captain. Captain. Oh, who lives in the giant pineapple in the deep sea? Child. SpongeBob. Captain. Fang and Huang can stretch freely. Child. SpongeBob. Captain. If exploring everywhere is your wish. Child. SpongeBob. Bill held the camera tightly and filmed Fatty Jack, who was singing happily at the top of his voice from all angles until the fat man finished singing the theme song and Big Bird Lucky came on stage. Big Bird Lucky is seen wearing cartoon costumes, dressed up as SpongeBob SquarePants, a yellow sponge wearing square pants, with 2 cute buck teeth, jumping out, twisting his hips, shrugs his hips, first doing a spacehawk of American pop king Michael Jackson, then bending over, breakdancing to pull the wire, and standing up to breakdancing to clean the glass. At this time, Natasha, who is wearing a fish tank on her head and dressed up as the sexy little squirrel Sandy, comes on stage. The story begins. SpongeBob still feels depressed after dancing, so he says to his good friend Sandy, "Oh, what should I do? I haven't been happy for a while. Sandy, help me." Sandy, as a friend, of course, "What do you want me to do?" SpongeBob, "It's very simple. Can you give me some pleasure?" Sandy, "How to make me happy?" SpongeBob, "That's it. One hand protects the back of the head, the other hand protects the crotch, and then shrugs the hips in the Mike style. Ian, I'm ready." Suddenly, Feiyang beside Director Bill shouted to stop. Director Bill rolled his eyes. He was the director. He had never seen a screenwriter who was also a director and so awesome. Feiyang didn't care about that. He yelled at the actors, "Expressions, your expressions. And the tone of your voice, it's all wrong. It's too awkward. There's no feeling of acting at all. It's like children playing house. Damn, I'm going crazy." Big Bird Lucky touched the back of his head. "No, director, we acted like this before." Natasha nodded, "Yes," and then started to take off clothes. "Remember." Feiyang suddenly jumped up and stood on the chair, looking down at the group of people. "I don't care what you were shooting before, and I don't care how you see yourselves. In my eyes, you are all actors. Real actors." "But, are we?" Big Bird Lucky, Natasha and others said in a low voice. They have always lived at the bottom of the entertainment industry, despised and looked down upon. They never considered themselves to be actors. To put it bluntly, they are just selling bodies in disguise. But now, Feiyang's words hit them like a thunderbolt. Unless you look down on yourselves and think that you are so despicable that you are only worthy of making such a movie, if that is the case, then I have nothing to say. Feiyang said loudly, "What is an actor? No matter what kind of role it is, you must work hard to play it well. In my eyes, this is an actor. Yes, we are actors." Big Bird Lucky suddenly said excitedly, "We are not despicable. We also have acting skills. We can play the role well. Guys, don't you think so?" Big Bird Lucky said. "Yes." Natasha and the others answered in unison. At that moment, everyone's heart suddenly became hot, and an inexplicable hope was ignited by Feiyang. "We are actors. Although we are shooting AV, we are actors. Although our play cannot be seen in public, we are actors. Even if there is no applause, we will never give up hope." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15. Chrysanthemums bloom when they should burst. Shooting AV movies really doesn't require any technical skills. Especially as a director, Feiyang thinks that the technical skills are even lower. It only took Bill one day to finish shooting this Chengren version of SpongeBob SquarePants. Feiyang was a little surprised that Bill was so quick. But Bill raised his eyebrows proudly and said to Feiyang, You don't have to be so surprised. Do you know what I did before I entered the industry? I was a student of the film department of the University of California. Do you know the great director Spielberg? I'm the younger brother of his younger brother. He graduated from our damn school. Originally this school was not bad, but those damn guys didn't know the value of it. They expelled me. I just held a group party at school. Everyone got naked, smoked a little marijuana, and had a passionate threesome with a female teacher and 2 female students. Is it that serious? Damn it, they actually expelled me in the end. Feiyang rolled his eyes. This guy shouldn't be fired, he should be struck by lightning. So, I'm not convinced. I tell everyone, I, Bill the Rabbit, will stand up from where I fell. Look at me now. I'm a director. Hahaha, those damn bastards, if they knew that I'm living such a carefree life now, they would be so angry. Okay, Bill, stop bragging. Come, let me see your masterpiece of the day. Feiyang was too lazy to listen to his nonsense and couldn't wait to turn on the machine to watch the sample tape. The projector started to play with a rustling sound. On the small screen, Big Bird Luchi, Natasha and others were wearing strange cartoon costumes. After a while of chattering, they began to enter the focus that most men who masturbate wanted. The women began to take off their clothes and the men began to lick the women's toes. Queen style? Slut style? Bill the Rabbit's shooting technique is very ambiguous. Even an old hand like Feiyang couldn't tell which genre of AV classics this play belonged to. Fortunately, Feiyang was patient and could continue to watch. It was finally on the right track. Just as Feiyang was shouting in his heart, "Let the storm come soon," Natasha, who had taken off all her clothes, suddenly put them back on. Feiyang was dumbfounded and asked Rabbit Bill, "When was this shot taken? How come I don't know? Is Natasha a human or a fairy? How can she take off her clothes quickly and put on clothes even faster? Oh, dear Yi, you don't know this. When you went to the toilet to pee, I had an idea. I thought it would be bad to shoot such a scene too directly. Why not play hard to get and let Natasha put her clothes back on after taking off all her clothes, boldly arouse the audience's verism, and let them fall into the space of fantasy, leisurely and unable to extricate themselves." What fantasy? What space? Can you explain it in a simpler way? Ahem. As a student of the Department of Film Art, I can tell you very responsibly that leaving blank space, understand? It is a very important means of filming a movie. Seeing that Rabbit Bill said it with a solemn oath, Feiyang had to nod his head. Okay, I admit that your art is difficult to figure out, but I hope you don't mess up this play. Don't worry, this play will only be more perfect, and will never be messed up. Feiyang watched the sample tape for another 10 minutes, and couldn't help asking, "Bill, are you sure this is a Chengren film?" Bill nodded. "Yeah, this is the best Chengren film I've ever shot. Of course, your wonderful script is indispensable. I never thought that cartoon characters could be used to make love and fight in bed. But your camera." Feiyang ignored his flattery. "It's shaking. Why does it feel like shooting a documentary?" You know, dear Yi, I'm a student of the Department of Film and Art at the University of California. The shooting techniques I use are absolutely first-class techniques, very avant-garde and avant-garde. Occasionally there will be some unexpected camera effects, which is understandable, isn't it? Bill said confidently. That's understandable, but what I can't understand is, why did you suddenly change the camera when Natasha took off her clothes again and Big Bird Luchi was ready to fight on horseback? Feiyang looked at Bill and said, "Bill, as I said just now, I'm a student of the Department of Film Arts at the University of California, so the technique I use is called borrowing. Dislocation, do you understand? Sometimes these shots don't need to be done, they just need to be shot from different positions to arouse the audience's infinite reverie, which is what I just told you about artistic blanks. How to say, this is the art of film." Feiyang was furious. "I'm going to fight you. I don't know what blanks are, let alone dislocations, and your bullshit art. I only know that you have wasted our hard work for a day, and now I'm going to beat you up so that your muscles are blank and your bones are dislocated. Let's see if you are still artistic." Oh, no, dear Yi. Maybe my shooting technique is really a little avant-garde, but it's not hopeless, right? Bill saw Feiyang getting angry, knowing that this guy is a good man, and hurriedly begged for mercy. Feiyang finally understood why this guy was in debt. Originally, even if these small movies didn't make money, they wouldn't lose money, but he pursued some bullshit art. Can ordinary people afford to play with art? Exclamation mark. Besides David G and Gao Jiabao, who else in the film industry dares to play so recklessly? Exclamation mark. Playing with art requires money. How can you do art if you don't have money? This rabbit bull in front of me is simply a weirdo in the AV industry. His mind is full of avant-garde, but to put it bluntly, it's all bullshit. Fortunately, from the beginning, I didn't expect him to make any good movies. Okay, Bill, I don't care how you made the film. Now, I'm going to use this demo to do some business. If everything goes well, we can make a lot of money. If not, then you can just wait for your ass to be blown up. Bill. Bill has a strong ability to understand. He quickly understood what this new word meant and asked, is it me who blows up others, or others who blow me up? What do you think? Ahem, let's make a deal. Dear ye. Don't blow up my ass, okay? You can blow up my peonies, morning glories, black dahlias. Or when you blow up, can you use a borrowed position? BT is crying. Please vote and recommend. Chapter 16. Real life version of Inglorious Bastards. Akbar is a real black man. To be precise, he is a pure Ethiopian. His origin can be seen from his name. Such names are as common in Africa as Xiangda, Xiang, Gaowa and Gaocheng in China. A long time ago, Akbar's great-grandfather was sold to the United States as a strong black slave. The life of a black slave is just like that. He soaks in the sugarcane plantation, sows potatoes and old corn. Of course, at night, like many idle black people, he works hard to sow his wife's 3-inch land. He works hard to sow, so that he has many children and grandchildren, including Akbar. Akbar is 54 years old this year, which is a man's struggling age like a wolf and a tiger. As a black man, it is 100 times more difficult to succeed in the United States than those damn white people. Akbar is deeply touched by this. As the director of the Los Angeles Management Department of the American HBO cable TV station, Akbar spent a full 20 years climbing from the bottom to this position. Speaking of HBO TV, before 1998, it only broadcast some old movies and low-cost dramas with some restricted shots, such as The Tales of the Demon World and Apocalypse. These dramas are very crudely produced, mostly in the form of unit dramas, with the content mainly based on awakening the world and telling you a life truth through a small story. Although the production is relatively rough, the content is still quite interesting. Since 1997, HBO has produced many high-quality original dramas, such as The City and Prison on Fire, which have shined at the Emmy Awards, and because of their high quality, HBO's subscriptions are getting higher and higher, and it has gradually become a leader in the field of American cable TV. Like many American TV stations, the entire organization of the American HBO cable TV station is full of bureaucracy and racial discrimination, and Akbar has overcome them one by one. For him, whether it is licking the ass of white bosses or polishing shoes for leaders, his purpose is only one, that is, to work hard to climb up. When you stand at the peak of power, all the sufferings you have suffered will be turned into dividends and returned to you. This is Akbar's motto. Now, he has done it. In the spacious and bright office, Akbar, with his fat belly, is trying to swing the indoor golf club. Beside him, the high-end audio system is playing Beethoven's famous Symphony Fate. The sound of the piano is sonorous and powerful, giving people passion. Oh, damn. Akbar swung a club, and the petite golf ball rolled to the edge of the hole but stopped. At this time, the indoor phone rang. Sir, a Chinese named Li wants to see you. The voice of the female secretary came from the other end of the phone. Akbar did not stop playing golf, and made a funny swinging gesture towards the ball, and said to the phone, "Is it that Chinese guy again? Tell him not to come. I'm very busy at work and I won't see him." In the past few days, this Chinese named Li called from time to time, and even ran over to ask to see him, and vowed that, if he didn't see him, Akbar would regret it. Bullshit. Akbar didn't believe this bullshit. As the director of a cable TV station in Los Angeles, he meets many strange people every day, all of whom want to get benefits from him, or want to get his favor and promotion. But our dear Mr. Akbar has principles. He will not meet anyone who is not a big shot or a beautiful woman, especially a little person like this who is unknown, and a shitty Chinese. Akbar, who has suffered racial discrimination for many years, has now changed from a discriminated person to a discriminator. Discrimination gives him unprecedented pleasure, just like an emperor with noble blood scolding those low-born servants. He doesn't like Chinese people and thinks that these people are locusts that jumped into the United States, grabbing food, drink, and jobs. The most hateful thing is that these people hold on to the money they make, not spending it, but saving it in the bank. Damn it, haven't they studied economics? Money is only called money when it is circulated. Saving it is nothing. Also, tell him not to come to me again. Otherwise, let the security kick him out. Akbar gave an order. The female secretary said, I know. Then he hung up the phone. You son of a bitch, who do you think I am? I can meet anyone. Akbar swung the club, and the golf ball rolled out. But a few minutes later, the phone rang again. Without waiting for the secretary to speak, Akbar said angrily, what's the matter? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me if it's not urgent? He was in a bad mood after several balls didn't go into the hole. Oh, sorry, sir. A nervous apology came from the phone. It's Miss Lily. She said she made an appointment with you today. Lily? Which Lily? Oh wait, let me think. Akbar tapped his forehead. Is it the little supporting role in Sex and the City who spills coffee on herself every time she drinks it? Yes, sir, that lady. Oh, that's good. Tell her to wait for me at the company gate first. I just have something to go out for later. That's good, sir. I will do as you say. The secretary hung up the phone. Akbar shrugged, put the damn golf club into his pocket, and hummed an American ballad, but he had tampered with the lyrics. The little lamb came to the door. What should I do as a big bad wolf? Or, I'm more, whether to eat her or not, only my dear grandma can tell. Akbar hummed and danced, sprayed his armpits with perfume, thought about it, unzipped his crotch, and sprayed it inside. Outside the HBO cable TV station, Feiyang sat in a red Ford sedan, fiddling with a coin leisurely. The coin rolled back and forth between his fingers, spinning back and forth like a magic trick, dazzling people. While rolling the coin, Feiyang watched Bill the rabbit struggling with the security guards at the company gate. Bill was obviously very annoyed. The security guard said nothing to let him in. He struggled hard, like a sturgeon struggling to go upstream to ovulate, trying to find a gap and rush through, but the security guards were obviously very committed to their duties, and did not give him any chance to exploit loopholes. Bill was very frustrated and discouraged. After helplessly raising his middle finger at the security guards, he returned to his car with his head down. Damn bastards, they didn't give me any face. I said I wanted to see that bitch up before something, but they didn't even bother to pass the message and directly kicked me out. Is this still the free America? It's harder to see a shitty supervisor than to see the President of the United States. Rabbit Bill grumbled, wiping the stains on the car body with his sleeve. This red Ford car belongs to his wife. He goes out to discuss business and deceive people to invest. It all depends on her to fill the facade. Dear Yi, aren't you angry at all? Bill couldn't help asking, looking at Feiyang who was calm. Feiyang flicked the coin up with his fingernails very casually, and then suddenly held it, as if he was holding not a coin, but everything he had planned. What's there to be angry about? We are not gentlemen, let alone visitors. We are blackmailers. There is no need to play so many tricks. But, no buts. Feiyang interrupted Bill. Remember, we are not good people, nor are we kind. We are here for money. As long as we can achieve our goal, we can do anything. Do you understand? Feiyang's bandit arrogance shocked Bill. He has always regarded himself as a literary youth, and he has never thought that a person can talk about interests so openly and confidently. Shit, am I really out of date? Bill shook his head violently, beware of being brainwashed by someone. Not far away, the automatic revolving door of HBO opened, and a fat black man with a big belly walked out. Oh god, it's him. He is Akbar. Rabbit Bill said excitedly. He is in charge of the entire Los Angeles HBO cable TV station. As long as you can hook up with him, then it will be difficult for you not to be famous. Looking at the fat black man in front, Feiyang sneered. Can such a guy be called a great man? It's too much nonsense to say that he has lived in the United States. Not far away, the great Mr. Akbar got into his super gorgeous private BMW car. A graceful girl walked to his car window and knocked on it. Akbar smiled. "Oh, it's my dear Miss Lily. Please get in the car." The seductively dressed girl sneered and kissed the glass coquettishly, then opened the car door and got in. "Ah, am I dazzled? That was Miss Lily? She is so cute. I like the role she played in *** City so much." Rabbit Bill looked at the scene in front of him in a daze. Feiyang didn't know who Lily was, and he didn't think she was so cute. If he had to say how he felt, he thought she was very coquettish and coquettish. Such women used to be sold for $2 for $100 in Temple Street, Hong Kong. In front, Akbar started the car and drove away slowly with the extremely coquettish Miss Lily. Feiyang said to Bill, "Catch up." Bill was still fiddling with his Ford car, which was as beautiful as his wife. Feiyang was anxious and simply kicked him away. "Get out of the way." He took over the driving. "Oh God, please be gentle. This is my wife. Slow down, don't be so impulsive. She can't stand your rough abuse." Amid the wailing of Bill the Rabbit, Feiyang had no sympathy for the woman, stepped on the accelerator, and flew out with a bang. Chapter 17. Entertainment Hidden Rules. HBO cable TV station manager Akbar drove his luxury BMW and drove proudly on the wide road. Next to him sat a white girl dressed seductively, wearing long eyelashes and dark eyeshadow. If you watch TV often, you will know her. She is Miss Lily, a small actress who often plays a cameo in the popular TV series The City. In Hollywood, there are thousands of beauties, and there are even thousands of female stars who want to be famous. If you don't have a big mouth, you can't become Julia Roberts. If you don't have sexy red lips, you can't become Angelina Jolie. So many girls come here with dreams, but leave with disappointment in the end. Of course, some leave with US dollars, pregnancy, marijuana, alcoholism, gambling, and various bad habits that cannot be changed. In short, Hollywood looks like a colorful fairy tale world on the surface, but only when you fall deeply into it, you will know that it is a complete divat. Even if you are Snow White, you will become a black witch when you enter here. Lily is smart and pretty. She knows what she needs, and what kind of help she needs to stand out from the shitty TV. So she came to Akbar, the pervert, without hesitation. Although he is black, she hates black people very much, but she has no choice. It is better to be fucked and then stand out than to be a bitch in the play. Of course, before she takes the initiative to devote herself, she still has to pretend to be a lady. After all, men don't like bitches who come to their door automatically. Such goods are too cheap and can be chosen at will in the cabinets of the red light district. What they like is to be reluctant but welcome, and what they like is women who are shy, afraid, timid, and pitiful to pretend to be virgins with their thighs clamped. It must be said that Miss Lily's acting skills are not very good, but her social experience is first class. She also has to thank the bearded professor in college. He taught her that if she wants to get an A in the exam, she must spread her legs in his study. But speaking of it, if you can both fuck men and get an A, why not? Exclamation mark. Akbar, who was paunchy, certainly didn't understand the thoughts of the little goblin beside him. In his eyes, the other party was a little lamb struggling in his mouth. Pitiful, but it made people want to beast her even more. Swallowing his saliva, Akbar said, "Dear Lily, I know why you asked me to come this time, but there are too many roles in *** City, and many actresses have great potential. Of course, you are no exception. In my eyes, your potential is unlimited. Oh God, he can prove my respect for you. But it is precisely because of this that it is more difficult for me. If I rashly arrange an important role for you, I'm afraid that others will gossip. Besides, you are still young, and will have plenty of opportunities in the future. There is no need to rush, right?" Akbar used his usual routine to deal with the lamb in front of him. Generally speaking, as long as he used this trick of playing hard to get, the beauty in front of him would surrender. Sure enough, our little lamb was anxious. Miss Lily almost pleaded with Akbar, "Help me, Mr. Akbar. I know you are a good person and always support newcomers. I have been a guest actor in this play for a long time. Even the director said that I acted well, but I just lack an opportunity. The opportunity you give me. Haha, opportunities. You need to fight for them yourself." Akbar held the steering wheel with one hand and touched Miss Lily's snow white thigh with the other. Oh damn, what smooth skin, soft and soft, smooth and slippery, and full of elasticity. Young women are good. Akbar sighed and observed the reaction of the little lamb. Miss Lily seemed very scared and restrained at first. She tried to push his hand away, but after pushing it, she shrank back. Undoubtedly, she made a very difficult decision. Akbar felt happy in his heart. This is the benefit of the unspoken rule of these white actresses. It is like fishing, and full of fun. Akbar was self-righteous, but the young actress Lily despised him in her heart. Shit, you can do it if you want, but you have to make me act. Touching her thigh, Akbar's panting began to get heavier. Look, why don't we stop in front, to rest for a while, so that I can teach you something. Of course, in addition to acting, I can also teach you some principles of life, especially how to survive in the entertainment industry like Hollywood. Oh, baby, don't refuse me, you know, it's rare for me to be in such a good mood to teach people. The luxurious BMW stopped at the railway bridge in front. Now, come, baby, let me see what other extraordinary skills you have besides acting, such as ventriloquism. Akbar revealed his pervert nature. Miss Lily was shy and timid. If I do what you want, can you help me? Of course. I like to promote newcomers the most, especially newcomers as obedient as you. Akbar couldn't wait to unzip his zipper. Miss Lily looked around in a very pitiful way, and then hesitantly prepared to lie down under someone's crotch. No, don't be in a hurry, Akbar suddenly said. I almost forgot, we need to have some fun. He took out a cigar with marijuana in it, lit it and took a few puffs. Oh yeah, this is life, real life. Okay, baby, start. I'm waiting for you to give me a miracle. Not far away, Feiyang was holding a cigarette in his mouth, squinting his eyes, and looking at the BMW parked on the side of the road in front of him. Rabbit Bill kept chattering in his ear. Damn it, luxury cars run fast. Fortunately, my Ford has enough horsepower, otherwise I would have lost this guy. Dear Yi, what do we do now? Should we wait a little longer, or go out and introduce ourselves directly? I think we should rehearse first. After all, he is the director of the cable TV station and a big shot. Although we are making a small movie, we are also people in the entertainment industry. We will meet each other sooner or later. Maybe we need him to take care of us more in the future. Just as Rabbit Bill was talking nonsense, Feiyang put out his cigarette butt and started the Ford. Oh, it's better to get closer. We can say hello to Mr. Akbar in the car first. How about I say it this way? Hello, Mr. Akbar. Or, hi, dear Akbar. Just as Bill was thinking about how to say hello, Feiyang drove Bill's beloved wife Ford and slammed into the back of the BMW. Bill was completely stunned. Oh, damn it. Just when Feiyang suddenly bumped into him, the big supervisor Mr. Akbar was enjoying the gentle and meticulous service of the little actor with his eyes closed. But things did not go as planned. Just when he was about to burst out, a damn bastard didn't choose the time or the place, and like a blind bull, he slammed into the back of his car. Miss Lily was frightened by the violent vibration, and gritted her teeth. Oh, got blood, bleeding. The cigar that Akbar was biting fell directly on his crotch. A certain place that was already bleeding was burned by the cigar, and the bleeding immediately blistered. Wailing continuously. In the Ford car, Rabbit Bill looked stupidly at the little star Miss Lily with saliva hanging from her mouth, and then saw Mr. Akbar roaring like thunder. Bill greeted him. Hi, Mr. Akbar. I know it's not the right time to greet you, but I just want to know, do you need a band-aid? Who are you? Bastards, did you hit my car? I'm going to sue you and put you in jail. Akbar covered his body and roared loudly. Bill wanted to explain, but Feiyang directly reached out and grabbed Akbar's collar and slapped him 3 times in a very rude way. Bill was stunned. Lily was stunned. Even Akbar himself was stunned. Is he a thief, a bandit, or a robber? Exclamation mark. Chapter 18. Is this considered blackmail? Mr. Akbar, who was in pain and excitement, was completely awakened by 3 sharp slaps from Feiyang. Akbar looked at the black-eyed and black-haired Chinese guy in front of him in a daze, and the subtext in his heart emerged, this guy's not a good person. Although our dear Mr. Akbar is tall and strong, he is very timid. Like many rich people or wealthy people, when they reach a certain status and position, they are particularly cherishing their lives. So Mr. Akbar cooperated and stopped howling. Instead, he said, "Dude, what do you want?" At the same time, he quietly took off the watch on his wrist and secretly stuffed it under his buttocks. Yi Feiyang looked at this sissy black man. "Remember, my name is Yi Feiyang. Now, you can call the police. If you are not afraid of being caught for smoking marijuana, you can also sit down calmly and look at what I give you." As he said, Yi Feiyang turned on the portable camera. Akbar was still very angry at first, but when his eyes touched the content of the camera, he was stunned. How could this happen? How do you know our TV station's plan for next year? Akbar looked at Yi Feiyang in disbelief. "You know, this big plan, the SpongeBob SquarePants cartoon series, was made by Akbar, and it cost countless manpower and material resources. Most importantly, Akbar has already given a guarantee to the New York headquarters in the United States that this cartoon will be broadcast on time next year. All along, major cable TV stations in the United States have relied on paid programs to attract viewers and collect production costs. Unlike many public TV stations, they can make profits by advertising programs. In terms of advertising programs, children's programs for children are undoubtedly the most popular, and countless TV stations in the United States are trying their best to get in so that they can get a piece of the pie. As a cable pay TV, it is inherently deficient. Many programs contain pornographic content and are prohibited for children to watch. This is not all. As public television stations become more and more sophisticated in production, cable pay stations have been faced with unprecedented challenges and shocks. In the words of TV tycoon Mervyn Griffin, this is the best of times and the worst of times. If you don't change, you will be eliminated by the times. So in the face of this situation, HBO headquarters issued an order to focus on children's programs next year and make achievements in this regard. Undoubtedly, this gave Akbar a lucky opportunity. In order to continue to climb up in the last stage of his life, he used his powerful connections and financial resources to finally create the secret weapon SpongeBob SquarePants. But now, the secret weapon that he thought was secretly unknown was first made into a sincere film by the son of a bitch. What consequences will this bring? Exclamation mark. As long as this sincere film has been circulated, his plan for next year will be completely destroyed. People will say that he, Akbar, actually used a sincere film to make creative cartoons. Oh god, Akbar can use his toes to testify that the other party definitely plagiarized his creativity. Of course, now is not the question of whether the chicken or the egg came first, but to prevent this play from being spread out, at least before the animation is broadcast, it must be firmly guaranteed that it cannot be seen by others. After all, Akbar has experienced great storms and done great things. After a brief thought, he has understood the serious situation he is facing. Looking at the Chinese man in front of him who looks like he has eaten his shit, Akbar took a deep breath and asked, "What do you want?" It's very simple. Yi Feiyang likes to talk to smart people. He doesn't need to say much, and he can understand it at a glance. "We just want money." "Ask a price." "How much?" As soon as money is mentioned, Akbar bursts out with heroism. Rabbit Bill didn't expect things to be so easy. He hurriedly slapped his hand and said, "We want 5. Before he finished saying 50,000, Akbar had already shouted angrily, "Shit. You are 2 robbers. You want to blackmail me for 500,000 with this broken bag? I will give you a maximum of 100,000, whether you want it or not." Bill was stunned. Yi Feiyang was also stunned. They overestimated the other party's IQ, but underestimated the other party's financial resources. People in Hollywood are really too rich. Seeing Bill and Yi Feiyang in a daze, Akbar was a little proud. "Look, damn, I cut off so much, let them be dumbfounded. Don't think I'm a rich man. Blackmail me at will." Bill was still in a daze. Yi Feiyang kicked him. "The boss has already spoken. Let's accept it reluctantly." Bill swallowed hard. "Ahem. Yes, we are actually very easy to talk to. 100,000, then 100,000. But we hope to get cash as soon as possible, not some check. Cash is a small problem, but the question is whether this tape has been circulated." Akbar looked at the bastards vigilantly. "We can guarantee this. We will give you the master tape, the sample tape, and all the tapes." "Mr. Akbar, come on. I wish us a happy cooperation. Bill smiled and stretched out his hand. Don't be so frivolous with me, I'm asking him. Okba looked at Feiyang. He knew from the beginning that this damn Chinese guy was the mastermind behind the scenes, and this rabbit-like guy was just a runner. Bill was sad. Whatever he did, he was always a supporting role. Exclamation mark. Facing Okba's questioning, Feiyang's answer was, now, do you still have a choice? Yes, Okba felt that he had no choice, but he needed time. Time, right? Well, I'll give you time. The exquisite little Ford with the front of the car smashed restarted, and Feiyang and the others rushed away in Okba's hateful eyes. The little actress Miss Lily didn't understand what this play was from beginning to end. It was not that she had a low IQ, but that Feiyang's blackmail was too clever. But her cleverness was that she didn't ask if she didn't understand, so as not to get into trouble. But seeing Okba's unhappy face, Miss Lily still asked very foolishly and naively, do you still want me to serve you? Serve your head. Okba waved his fist. If possible, he would gather all the people involved in the SpongeBob SquarePants plan to see which guy leaked the idea. Damn traitor, I will kick your head. Mr. Okba lives in a luxury villa area near Los Angeles, near the famous Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. When Mr. Okba rang the doorbell at home dejectedly, his little woman, a white woman, ran out to open the door for him. As mentioned earlier, Mr. Okba has a strong inferiority complex. As a black man, he hates his dark skin the most. On the contrary, he has a natural liking for white people, so after he became rich, he tried to make himself white. Whether in behavior or life, he tried to stride towards the world of white people. So in terms of marriage, he chose without hesitation to marry a white wife. It was this petite woman in front of him, who looked like she could be slapped away. Oh, honey, you're back. The little white woman was an aura of her husband who earned money to support the family. Well, hurry up and make dinner, I'm hungry. Okba took off his coat like an old man, threw it to the woman, and then walked into the living room. Where's Little Fly? Why can't I see him? Little Fly's the fruit of Okba's love after his battle with the white woman. He is 13 years old and is a naughty mixed race boy. He went to play games at the neighbor's house and will be back in a while. Going to play games again. Can't you educate him well? If he only knows how to play games all day, how can he go to college and make a name for himself? This is America, the competition is fierce, and those hateful white people are like cruel great white sharks. Oh, sorry, you are not included, you are my lovely little lamb. They can tear everything of yours apart, including your dreams. Okba said angrily, so I hope you can educate this little fly on my behalf. He may be like me, struggling for more than 20 years to sit in such a shitty position. I know, dear, but you seem to be very angry today. Is there something wrong? The little woman asked with concern. It's okay, don't worry about me. Go, make dinner. Okba was too lazy to pay attention to the woman's inquiry and walked into his study with some annoyance. The setting in the study is very knowledgeable and literary. The tall bookshelf is filled with various reference books and professional books on film and television. Of course, there are also works by famous writers such as Shakespeare, Hugo, Dumas, Dickens, and Mark Twain. Someone once said that a bookshelf is a museum that displays your knowledge, and your knowledge level can be seen from your bookshelf. Okba appreciates this sentence very much. At least everyone who has visited his bookshelf exclaimed, "God, you are so knowledgeable." Then Okba would say modestly, "It's just a drizzle. In fact, I have only read a small part of the more than 10,000 books here." Generally speaking, whenever Okba walks into his study, he will calm down, but today, he is still a little angry. Damn Chinese, are you blackmailing me? Let me see what power your videotape has. Okba took out the Chengren sample tape of SpongeBob SquarePants from his briefcase indignantly, and then stuffed it into the VCR installed in the study. The VCR was turned on, and the tape was rustling. Although Mr. Okba had watched a little bit before, he was so stunned at that time that he didn't really watch the show. Now, he can study it carefully. 10 minutes later, Okba felt his throat was a little dry. It is undeniable that this shitty videotape is really exciting, especially the story design, which is really comparable to the SpongeBob SquarePants he was going to play. Shit, I don't know how this son of a bitch Chinese guy got the news. How did he know that the big show I arranged for next year would be a cartoon program? And how could he shoot the Chengren version of the movie so accurately? Is there really a traitor around me who betrayed me? Thinking of this, Akbar's heart could no longer calm down. He picked up the phone on the desk, dialed one by one, and started calling his subordinates around him. Hello, is this James? The cartoon we plan to broadcast next year. Boss, believe me, I really didn't say anything. Really, I can swear to God that I didn't say a word. Hello, is this Edward? About the cartoon program SpongeBob SquarePants that our TV station is going to broadcast next year. Oh, dear Akbar, I swear, I have never told anyone about this. I have never betrayed you. Really? Akbar made a series of phone calls, and those people complained one by one, saying that they kept their mouths shut and absolutely did not leak any business secrets. Damn it. Damn it. Akbar hung up the phone fiercely. He was really confused. Since the people around him didn't leak it, how did this Chinese guy know? And he made such a threat to him? Could he be able to predict the future, like those damn gypsies? Exclamation mark. Akbar couldn't understand it, no matter how hard he thought, and the man and woman who were fighting on the videotape screamed even louder. Oh, yes. Yes. The door of the study room suddenly opened, and a small black head poked in. It was 13-year-old Little Fly. Oh my god, why didn't you knock on the door? Akbar hurriedly paused the videotape. The picture froze on a big breast. Little Fly shrugged. My mom asked me to call you for dinner. Then he glanced at the video screen again. It's quite big. I didn't expect dad to be so kind. Get out. What do you know, little brat? Akbar said angrily. Little Fly stuck out his tongue and closed the door. Akbar was relieved to see the naughty kid leave. Looking at the video screen again, it's true that the heroine's breasts are really big. Akbar couldn't help but press the continue play button, and the picture started to go crazy again. Akbar watched for 3 or 2 minutes, and his whole body began to feel hot. As a veteran masturbator, he considered whether he should take the opportunity to masturbate. After all, he was ready to pay for this tape, and it would be a waste if he didn't masturbate. He unzipped his pants with difficulty and saw his little brother who had been severely injured before, and he was miserable. Look at you, how pitiful. He spread his little brother in his hand and comforted him. Don't worry, everything will be fine, I promise. Just when Akbar was heartbroken, the study door was opened again, and this time it was his wife who came in. The little white woman saw at a glance the restricted video being played, and her husband was holding. Oh god, why are you like this? The woman closed the door and screamed. Akbar, what's going on? What kind of education? You didn't even knock before entering. Someone screamed. Chapter 19. Dividing the spoils is also crazy. Payment in goods is the only way to do business. At least Mr. Akbar is a very good partner. After handing him the master tape of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Feiyang and his team made their first fortune. $100,000. Although this first fortune was not glorious, and even a little shameless and mean, in the United States and Hollywood, shameless and mean are not derogatory words. How to say it? If you work hard here for a while, you will understand that all pure and noble people have gone to hell. On the contrary, all shameless and mean people have gone to heaven, a golden heaven paved with gold. $100,000 is easy to distribute. $30,000 for Feiyang, $30,000 for Bill. But this guy can't get the money. Don't forget that he still owes money to Toy, and the remaining $40,000, according to Feiyang's intention, will not keep a penny and will be distributed to the actors and behind the scenes staff. Feiyang's generosity made Rabbit Bill feel ashamed and even inferior for a while. If it were him, he would not be so generous, and he might have cheated a lot of money in the middle. When Feiyang took out $40,000 and gave it to Fatty Jack, the heroine Natasha, the hero Big Bird Lucci, and the lighting technician, everyone jumped and cheered. You know, as an underground movie market, especially for those who make AV movies like them, generally speaking, getting $1,000 for a movie is already the limit. Most of the time, People like Big Bird Lucci can only get $200 or $300 at most, and as for beauties like Natasha, it's only $100, not to mention others. The actual income is pitiful. But now, my god, almost everyone got thousands of dollars, and Natasha, as the heroine, got $10,000 at a time. Such a thing was unimaginable in the past. After all, the reason why everyone made such a movie was mostly because they had no other choice. Now, they can get more than 10 times more money than before, so why not cheer? Exclamation mark. Of course, while everyone was cheering, everyone was most grateful to Feiyang. Without him, there wouldn't be so much money. Without him, there wouldn't be such a miracle. So as a woman, the busty beauty Natasha put away her shyness in private, showed her charm in the play, hugged Feiyang generously, and kissed him hard on the face. "God, thank you so much, you are such a good person." Natasha's passionate kiss made everyone cheer wildly. Feiyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was actually being groped! Exclamation mark. Big Bird Lucci followed suit, smacking his beard-filled mouth, and also wanted to hug Feiyang and take a bite, but Feiyang didn't give him the opportunity to express his gratitude, kicked this guy away, and warned him, "If you come again, I'll kick you to death." Faced with Feiyang's lavish spending, Bill the Rabbit, the producer and director of this play, could only watch and drool. Alas, who made me owe so much money? Now I can only watch others count their money until their hands are tired, and my throat is dry. God, you are so mean. You generously gave me 30,000, but you won't even let me touch it. The greatest sorrow in life is nothing more than this. Just when Bill was hugging his arms and feeling extremely melancholy, Natasha suddenly walked to his side and then smiled and handed him $1,000. "This is..." Bill was a little puzzled. Natasha smiled. "This is a little gift from all of us. Please accept it." Director Bill, don't be embarrassed. We have all been through hard times, and we know the difficulties of having no money. Food, supplies, and housing all require money. Rabbit Bill was completely stunned. All along, he thought he was the one who gave arms. He was a great man. He was the one who helped these guys who only knew how to shoot AV. He was the one who gave them jobs. Without me, they can only wander around. But now, Bill suddenly felt his eyes moist. In fact, the greatest philanthropists are not those who have $1 billion, but give you $10,000, but those who only have $10,000, but give you $1,000. Compared with Bill's melancholy, the one who is in the worst mood is undoubtedly Feiyang's best friend and housekeeper, the fat man Gao Jiabao. Looking at Bill, Jack, Natasha, Lucci and others happily counting the money, the fat man feels distressed. If Feiyang is not so generous, if he can be more cruel and pay less, if he discusses it with himself in advance, perhaps his small treasury can have a few more zeros. How could Feiyang not know the fat man's mood? Looking at his twitching face, you can see that his internal organs are accusing him of extravagance. So Feiyang patted the fat man and said, "Don't worry, these are child's play. We will make more money in the future." The fat man glared at him and said, "You said it. If you can't make back 100,000 yuan, I will be angry with you." "Don't worry," Feiyang said with a smile. "Next time, we won't make 100,000 yuan, but 1 million yuan." In Los Angeles Chinatown, it was still the very hidden underground warehouse. Two big men in black stood with their hands crossed on the left and right like door gods, while Toy, the giant of the local business, was making egg fried rice on his newly replaced mahogany desk. At this moment, footsteps sounded. Feiyang walked to his desk with a stack of newspapers. "Hello, Mr. Tuo, we meet again." Mr. Tuo wiped his mouth with his sleeve, then used the tip of his tongue to pick up the rice grains between his teeth, and said, "Why, you don't want to see me? How could that be? Mr. Tuo, you are so handsome, it's worth it to look at you a few more times." No matter how thick-skinned Mr. Tuo was, he blushed under Feiyang's teasing. "Stinky boy, don't talk nonsense. Tell me, what's the matter?" Feiyang threw the rolled newspaper over. "Of course I'm here to give you money." Mr. Tuo glanced at the newspaper, then opened it with his hand, and $30,000 were neatly arranged in colorful colors. "Bill Rabbit owes you $30,000. All here, count it." Yu Feiyang said with a smile. Mr. Tuo was not polite. He picked up the money and weighed it, and then counted the money in a dazzling way. 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes flying butterflies, sometimes flying swallows, sometimes spitting, making a tornado, sometimes exhaling, sweeping across the country. Yu Feiyang, who was standing by, was stunned, amazed at the other party's skilled money counting skills, which were even more professional than bank accountants. Yes, the number is right. Toy counted the money excitedly, then stretched out his hand and took the $30,000 into the table drawer. The whole action was clean and neat, leaving no trace. It's good that it's right, but Toy's way of counting money is impressive. Stinky boy, are you making fun of me? Don't say, I'm very skilled in this area. Toy smiled and rubbed his teeth. By the way, you are quite capable. A small movie, you can make a full 100,000. Toy is so powerful that he even knows this. Yu Feiyang sat down on Toy's new table very unceremoniously. Grandpa Tuo frowned. No one had ever dared to be so bold and presumptuous in front of him. Don't think that I don't know anything, just because I stay here all day. As long as I'm in Chinatown, as long as there is the slightest movement outside, it will not escape my eyes and ears. Yu Feiyang knocked on the table. The wood is good, much stronger than the previous one. Grandpa Tuo, what do you mean by telling me this? The meaning is very simple. Grandpa Tuo suddenly laughed very lewdly. If you get rich in the future, take me with you. No way. Grandpa Tuo. Yu Feiyang was shocked. Grandpa Tuo, you are so wise and powerful. Do you still need someone to lead you? Nonsense. What kind of money do I make? Money that is earned by licking blood on the tip of a knife. Unlike you, you made 100,000 in just 3 or 4 days. It's faster than robbing a bank. You are good at it. I'm optimistic about you. If you have something good in the future, just let me know, and I'll have some fun with you. Facing Grandpa Tuo's shamelessness, Yu Feiyang felt for the first time that being a bad guy could be so cute, and it's not easy. Now that you, Uncle Tuo, have spoken, what else can I say? Don't worry, I have a big plan next. If you are really interested, let's play it together then. Haha, great. I like your straightforwardness. Young people are really good, brave, and full of spirit. I remember that I came to Chinatown in the United States from Tunman, Hong Kong with a machete, and started by helping people sell sugarcane, and walked step by step to where I'm today. Uncle Tuo, with saliva flying, began to educate his little brother Yu Feiyang to recall the past and cherish the present. Yu Feiyang yawned. Okay, Grandpa Tuo, I'll listen to your legendary story later. Where's my green card? This kid was too disrespectful. Grandpa Tuo, who was just getting excited, had to stop talking halfway. He took out his ID from the drawer and threw it to Yu Feiyang, saying, you've made a profit. Others have to wait for 3 years for this thing, but you only have 3 months. Yu Feiyang looked at the treasure in his hand and felt excited. Damn, how many heroes have suffered for this thing? From today on, I can stride on the land of America and see who dares to stop me. Grandpa Tuo looked at Yu Feiyang. Boy, keep it well, and don't lose it. I'm still waiting to get rich by hitchhiking. Don't worry, I won't lose it, even if I lose myself. Also, eat less fried rice with eggs. It's not good for your stomach. Judging from your complexion, you should drink more treasure porridge to make up for it. Yu Feiyang said with a smile, waved his hand, and left in a chic manner. Looking at his back, Toy touched his chin, looking thoughtful. A big man in black beside him asked quietly, what should we do? Toy, do you want to teach him a lesson? Give him a shit. Toy cursed. Do you think I'm a narrow-minded person? The big man in black fell silent. This kid is interesting. He made 100,000 just from one movie. If he is really given a chance, he will swallow up the whole Hollywood. Toy smiled and narrowed his eyes, then seemed to remember something. Go, throw away this plate of fried rice, and change it for a bowl of treasure porridge. Remember, add ingredients. In a moment, I was originally a casual person on Wollongong, relying on yin and yang to protect the world. Toy sang in a clear and melodious voice, and it sounded very realistic. The voice came out slowly. Yu Feiyang paused, and laughed and cursed. Old fox. Chapter 20. Next stop Queen. The United States of America has always been known for freedom, democracy, and equality. But in fact, in this world of polarization between the rich and the poor, being rich and powerful is like being poor and downtrodden. The endless stream of luxury cars, luxurious brand stores, famous watches, jewelry, diamonds, and all kinds of fashion items on the roadside seem to show one truth. This is a world of material desires. It is the American empire built on money. The sun shines on the streets of Los Angeles. Wearing a brand new suit, mousse on his head, and a bunch of daily necessities, the fat man Gao Jiabao follows behind Feiyang like a follower. Feiyang took out the newly bought brand name cigarettes, flicked his fingers, and a cigarette flew out. He opened his mouth and bit it. His posture was chic and handsome, which attracted the attention of the passing blonde beauties. The fat man followed suit, trying to throw the big and small bags behind him, took out the cigarette box, flicked it, and after flicking it for a long time, a cigarette popped out. As soon as he opened his mouth, the cigarette fell to the ground. Oh, I didn't expect this trick to be so difficult to learn. The fat man muttered and tried a few more times, and all the cigarettes fell to the ground. A homeless man followed him, picked up the cigarette, and smoked it on his nose, feeling very happy. Wait a minute, Feiyang, buy a washing machine first. At the door of an electrical appliance store, the fat man stopped, and then went in very boldly. The white lady in the electrical appliance store was very polite. Although the other party was Chinese, she was dressed very luxuriously. Such customers should be treated well. Beauty, do you have any good washing machines here? The fat man put on a nouveau-riche face. Remember, introduce the most expensive one to me. He was almost holding a cigar in his mouth to pretend to be a big boss. Haha, sir, this is the latest German-made Siemens fully automatic washing machine. One-time washing, no one to operate, and now there is a 20% discount. How much? $1,300. The fat man staggered. More than $1,000. That is 7 or 8 cents of Hong Kong dollars. Robbery? Exclamation mark. Are there any other brands? This price is too low, not suitable for me. There are more expensive ones. This one is also made in Germany. The total price is $2,000. The fat man was upset. Ahem. Are you still an American? Why do you always introduce German products to me? Don't you make washing machines in the United States? Yes, there are. This one is made in the United States. It's $300 and there is a 10% discount. But it's outdated and not fully automatic. Look, I want this one. The fat man took out $300 generously. Although I just got the green card, I love America. I strongly support American products. The white lady, when Feiyang and the fat man finished everything and walked back to their residence on the spacious and bright asphalt road in Los Angeles, the fat man felt light all over. With the green card in hand, there is nothing else to ask for. From now on, we are people here. The fat man even felt like he was reborn. He shouted that he would call Hong Kong to announce the good news and send some money back. Feiyang did not comment. For him, this little achievement was not worth showing off. One day, I will make everyone look up to me, like I look up to the tall buildings here. Feiyang returned to the old apartment building where he lived. As soon as he went up the stairs to the second floor, he heard a melodious music. This piece of music is the famous ballet Swan Lake. This piece of music is very famous, even ordinary people are familiar with it. Feiyang likes this piece of music very much. When he hears this piece of music, 3 little swans will appear in his mind. At this moment, the dance music came from Mrs. Lawrence's room. Feiyang couldn't help but be curious, so he approached the door. There was a gap there, and he could see inside clearly. In the not so spacious room, Mrs. Lawrence was sitting in a wheelchair knitting a sweater with a happy smile on her face. In front of her, a girl in black fitness clothes was tiptoeing and dancing. From the back, the girl had a good figure, and the tight fitness clothes outlined her slender curves and exquisiteness. She has a pair of long legs, a slender waist, a swan-like neck, and brown hair tied up on top of her head. When she dances, she looks like a noble princess, which makes people intoxicated. Gradually, Feiyang was attracted by the girl's graceful and moving dance. She jumped up and down in the room like an elf, and her toes seemed to be stepping on flower petals, light, agile, and full of indescribable beauty. Creaking, because he wanted to see the girls dance more clearly, Feiyang suddenly pushed the door open a little more. "Oh, it's my dear Yi, why are you standing at the door?" Lawrence, who was knitting a sweater, saw him and smiled. Feiyang said casually, "Oh, I'm here to give you the rent." Then he walked in. In the room, the dancing girl stopped dancing when she saw someone coming in. "I told you, don't worry." Mrs. Lawrence took the rent with a smile and then said to Feiyang, "Come, dear Yi, let me introduce you. She is my granddaughter Anne." Feiyang turned around and an extremely beautiful face appeared in front of him. A pair of beautiful sea blue eyes, like rare gems, a straight nose, and red lips, outlining a peerless beauty. "Hello, I'm Feiyang." "Hello, I'm Anne Hathaway." The two shook hands gently. "Anne Hathaway?" Exclamation mark. Looking at this delicate and smart face, Feiyang suddenly had a shadow in his mind. Could it be her? Exclamation mark. Anne Hathaway, a famous American Hollywood actress, is known as the most shining classical beauty in Hollywood, the little Vivian Leigh. Her temperament is like the heroine in Gone with the Wind, which makes everyone intoxicated. In fact, when Hathaway first arrived in Hollywood, she was unknown. In 2000, she accidentally fell off her chair during an audition for The Princess Diaries. As a result, she was spotted by the director and got the opportunity to play the protagonist Maya and became famous overnight. After that, she took on many films such as Brokeback Mountain and Alice in Wonderland, which were widely praised. In 2013, she won the Best Supporting Actress in the 5 major awards of Oscar, Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild Award, American Film Critics Association Award, and British Academy Film Awards for her role as Fantine in Les Miserables. If you have to make a metaphor, then Anne Hathaway is a bit like a beautiful princess who walked out of a classic oil painting, which makes people amazed at first sight. At this moment, Feiyang's mind was spinning rapidly. He, who has always been very utilitarian, immediately began to plan how to include this next stop queen who has not yet become famous into his future plan. Anne Hathaway, who is only 16 or 17 years old now, has no idea of Feiyang's mind. She thought that he was shocked by her appearance like other men. Anne Hathaway was about to take her hand back, but Feiyang laughed and let go of her hand in advance, saying, "Nice to meet you. You dance ballet beautifully." Looking at his carefree expression, how could he be shocked at all? Exclamation mark. Anne was slightly startled and began to re-examine this Chinese man. When ordinary men see her, they are either attracted by her appearance and stare at her, or dodge and look at her secretly. However, Feiyang in front of her has a firm and clear gaze, which even makes Hathaway doubt her charm. "Thank you for your compliment. I heard from my grandmother that you helped her a lot." "That's because Mrs. Lawrence's fruit salad is delicious. You know, it tastes great." Hathaway admired this man's humor. "Oh, by the way, I'm curious, your name seems to be..." Before Feiyang finished speaking, Anne Hathaway smiled and said, "Same as Shakespeare's wife, right?" "Haha, everyone who hears my name will ask this. I'm just curious. My mother gave me this name." She is a stage actor, and the most performed on stage are Shakespeare's stage plays, such as A Midsummer Night's Dream or Romeo and Juliet. Then influenced by your mother, you must also like acting? "No, on the contrary, I hate acting." Anne Hathaway's answer surprised Feiyang. "I originally thought that I would mention that I would make movies in the future and hope to cooperate with her, but now it seems..." Hathaway smiled politely and seemed unwilling to talk about this topic again. "Sorry, Yi. I have to take a shower first, and we can talk later." Hathaway's expression became very cold. Feiyang didn't know how he had offended this young lady, and nodded. "That's right, I'm going upstairs too." Seeing Feiyang embarrassed, Mrs. Lawrence smiled and said, "Yi, don't be angry. My granddaughter is like this. She hates people talking to her about acting, because her mother has always hoped that she can inherit her career and act in stage plays. Adolescents are very rebellious, aren't they? The more you ask her to do something, the more she hates it." Mrs. Lawrence's explanation made Feiyang somewhat relieved. But what Yi Feiyang didn't understand was, how could someone who hated acting so much enter Hollywood and become a female star in the future? Exclamation mark. Haha, Mrs. Lawrence, I understand. Okay, I'm going upstairs too. Yi Feiyang was about to turn around and leave. Wait, Yi, there is one more thing. Mrs. Lawrence turned her wheelchair, took out a letter, and handed it to Yi Feiyang. This was sent by the post office today. I took a sneak peek, and it's from Maine. Yi, do you have any friends there? No, I don't. Mrs. Lawrence's curiosity is understandable, but Yi Feiyang knows who sent this letter, a belated letter. When he opened the envelope, it said Stephen King's invitation. Chapter 21, The King of Terror. Nevada is located in the northwest of the United States, adjacent to California. There are many mountains and forests here, with abnormal climate and a strong primitive atmosphere. Therefore, it is full of ghost legends, and is known as the ghost state of the United States. Here, you can see endless plains, steep hills, windmills elevated on the plains, and container trucks whizzing by. It is lonely, desolate, full of stories and legends. Especially in the suburbs, it is simply the Indian era that has never been cultivated. But when you enter the towns of Nevada, you will find that this is another world. Prosperous, lively, and full of the atmosphere of the modern city. Nevada is such an ambiguous region. For many writers, it is the best element to find creative inspiration. Although Stephen King is from Maine, he likes mysterious places like Nevada very much. Therefore, he lives here for a period of time in May and June every year. Whether it is from his novels The Omen, Pet Sematary, or his first work Carrie, you can find bits and pieces of his life in Nevada. One day in May, when Yi Feiyang drove here, it was already noon. He parked the second-hand car he bought for $1,000 near the villa where Stephen King lived. As he drove, the neighbors looked at him with strange eyes. You know, Nevada is not New York or Los Angeles. Few Chinese people come here, not to mention that this Chinese person looks very young and energetic. At least some girls here can't help but stop and take a few more glances. Stephen King's house is easy to find because he is too famous and many of his admirers come here. After asking so many questions, the neighbors didn't bother him anymore, so they spontaneously put up a lot of signboards, which were not clearly written. Stephen's house. Turn left and go 100 meters. 100 meters ahead, Yi Feiyang, who was walking, looked up at this old antique villa. The wide iron gate was closed, and there were bunkers and Gothic buildings inside. The slender chimneys reached the sky. Several rows of dense pine trees surrounded the villa. From the outside, people can only get a glimpse of the general layout of the villa. According to Yi Feiyang, such a villa is simply the legendary haunted house. For example, the movie The Amityville Horror and the movie Voldemort House give people a gloomy feeling from the outside. It can be said that the shape of the villa in the movie is exactly the same as this building. Yi Feiyang even believes that Stephen King's best-selling movie The Bloody Rose was probably filmed here. Or thriller story intertwined with secrets, murder, and ghosts. Although the title is so beautiful, The Bloody Rose is not a romantic love movie. In fact, it is the name of long-abandoned mansion. Under her beautiful appearance, it hides horrifying cruelty and blood. The Bloody Rose was born at the beginning of the century and was built by the wealthy residents. However, since the construction of the house, there have been constant disasters. Not only did many construction workers die tragically, but many people disappeared one after another after the completion of the house. A total of 26 people have mysteriously disappeared in the wild grass of the Bloody Rose. Legend has it that this house is cursed, and it will build on its own. This is the general content of this movie. In some people's eyes, it may not be a classic, but whether it is a classic or not, in Yi Feiyang's opinion, there are probably few movies in the Haunted House series that can surpass it. Another attractive part of this movie is its music, which is simply the sound of hell that makes people's hearts stop beating. Yi Feiyang came to the big iron gate and pressed the doorbell. There was a sound from inside, but the big iron gate did not open immediately. "Who are you looking for?" Suddenly a voice came from the iron gate voice machine. "My name is Yi Feiyang. Mr. Stephen King invited me here." "Oh, please wait a moment." There was no sound. Yi Feiyang leaned lazily against the iron gate and took out a cigarette and lit it. Before he took 2 puffs, the iron gate creaked open. Feiyang said, "Thank you," and walked inside. From the outside, it looks big enough, but when you really walk in, you will find that it is simply unimaginably big. The green lawn is comparable to a large football field. Various plants and flowers decorate the entire villa. On the green lawn, there are many beautiful small animals, and even a huge elk. Feiyang was convinced. This is a life of rich people. Not to mention other things, many people can't even support themselves, let alone so many pets. Just as Feiyang looked around, a tall white man walked out of the villa, holding a huge German wolfhound in his hand. The wolfhound bared its teeth, stuck out its red tongue, and stared at Feiyang, the uninvited guest, with ferocious eyes. The white man said, "Hello, friend. Are you Mr. Feiyang?" "Yes, I am." Feiyang turned around and answered. The white man was about to continue speaking, but the wolfhound he was holding suddenly roared, broke free from the rope, jumped up, and pounced on Feiyang fiercely. "Oh, damn it." The white man was shocked. Seeing that the wolfhound was about to pounce on Feiyang raised his fist without hesitation and hit the wolfhound's nose with a puff. With a scream of "ah!" The wolfhound never expected that its opponent would be so fierce, and its nose was its most vulnerable part, so it was knocked unconscious by the punch. The white man was dumbfounded. He looked at the dog lying on the ground and twitching, and then looked at Feiyang who was moving his wrist. In a moment, he gave a thumbs up. "Awesome." The tall white man in front of him was none other than the legendary American writer and horror king Stephen King. Stephen King was a strange man. In his own words, after writing horror novels for a long time, his spirit tended to be crazy. Sometimes, he likes to observe dead things, such as dead dogs, dead cats, and dead mice thrown in the trash can. These things would give him inspiration, and he would immediately imagine a picture of a housewife opening the refrigerator, and what was placed inside was not a cheese sandwich, but a dead child. Now, Stephen King is obsessed with raising dogs again, and he wants the most ferocious wolf dogs. In his opinion, this animal is like a wild wolf in the wilderness, and it still retains most of the animal's characteristics, which is exactly what he needs to write horror novels. Stephen King likes to see a big wolf dog tearing a live chicken apart alive. The bloody scene will make him immersed in death and unable to extricate himself. His family is very opposed to his extraordinary behavior, thinking that he is murdering and abusing. But Stephen King said that every successful horror writer is a lunatic, and you are undoubtedly seeking the skin of a tiger by reasoning with a lunatic. The cruelty of this big wolf dog has become the reason why Stephen King loves it, but he didn't expect that an accident almost happened today. If it weren't for Feiyang's fierce punch that knocked the crazy wolf dog unconscious, the consequences would be really unimaginable. Stephen King looked at his beloved dog howling on the ground, then looked at Feiyang who seemed calm, and said, "Your fist is very hard." Feiyang smiled and said, "Its nose is too soft. I'm Stephen King. I'm Feiyang." Then, the famous American king of terror and someone who would shock Hollywood in the future shook hands for the first time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22. Clash of Kings. In the living room, Feiyang looked at the decorations around him. A deer head hanging on the wall and a rifle on the wall caught his attention. "I shot it in Indiana last year. I almost fell off a cliff in pursuit of it, but God bless me, I'm lucky, and I finally return home with honor. As for the gun, it is my grandfather's favorite weapon. It can be loaded with 7 bullets at a time. It is very powerful. Bang, it can blow up the head of any animal." Stephen King proudly introduced his honors and collections. Feiyang smiled and said, "I also like hunting. Let's study it together, if we have the chance." "Study? Oh, really? Okay." Stephen King was stunned for a moment and smiled. Feiyang picked up the rifle, loaded it, aimed, gestured, and the rifle rotated in his palm. It was cool and beautiful. Feiyang praised, "Good gun." Stephen King was obviously a little uncomfortable with the other party's familiarity. He was even more afraid that he would drop his antique gun on the ground. In the past, all the young literary men who came to visit him were either nervous or at a loss, and they were speechless when facing him. But the one in front of him was obviously not one of them. Just when Stephen King was worried that the other party would not stop gesticulating with the gun, Feiyang put the gun back to its original place, crossed his legs, sat on the sofa, and looked ready to talk. "Coffee or tea?" Stephen King asked enthusiastically when he saw Feiyang sitting down. "I know that you Chinese people like to drink tea very much. I have your very good Westlake Longjing and Iguana in here." Of course, they were all bought in Chinatown, and I don't know if they are authentic. "Whatever you want, anything is fine." Feiyang smiled. To be honest, he didn't have any big requirements for drinking tea or wine. "You seem like a person who doesn't care. Then let's have Longjing. I like its taste." Stephen King asked someone to prepare tea, then sat down and said to Feiyang, "You must be very curious about why I invited you to meet. To put it bluntly, it's still your novel." Then he put the manuscript that Feiyang had sent on the table. "It is undeniable that the novel you wrote is very creative, really good. I have never seen a novice who can design the idea of a short story so perfectly. But, unfortunately, I have to point out that your writing is really a bit." Stephen King pouted and gestured, as if looking for the right words. "I understand what you mean. Is it too bad?" Feiyang said. "Yes, you can say that." Stephen King was a little surprised by Feiyang's words. "You know, all those who are engaged in creation are very face-saving. It is rare to be so frank as this Chinese guy in front of him. I admit that it is really bad. After all, I'm not an expert in wording and sentence structure. Therefore," Feiyang paused, "I will give you these 3 short stories to review. I hope you can give me some advice." Feiyang looked at Stephen King with a half smile. Stephen King was not used to this way of talking. Although he was a writer, since he became famous, whether it was the editor of the publishing house or the publisher of books and periodicals, he was the one who took the initiative when talking to him. "Ahem, dear Mr. Yi, is it okay for me to call you that? I have to say that you are a very frank person. I like people like you. So now let's get to the point. The point is, if you hand these 3 novels to me, I can modify them into masterpieces. Masterpieces, do you understand? The kind that can be published in newspapers and magazines, or even published as a separate book." Stephen King vowed. Feiyang smiled, and then said something very uncoordinated. "How much?" What? I mean, if I sell these 3 novels to you, how much can you give me?" Stephen King was stunned for a moment. Talking about money hurts feelings, but it seems that there is no feeling between the two of them. Speaking of which, don't people say that Chinese people are too concerned about face and don't like to talk about money? Why did this guy start talking about money? Is he not Chinese, but Korean or Japanese? Exclamation mark. Seeing Stephen King staring at him in amazement, Feiyang had to remind him. 3 novels, how much? If you insist on talking about money, then you name a price. Stephen King's meaning is very clear. Many small authors would be embarrassed to talk about money when talking about these things with this great god. As long as I can give them some pointers, they will be grateful. Boy, you are the first one. Feiyang didn't think it was shameful to talk about money at this time. Chinese people are too concerned about face and suffer in life. Feiyang is not such a saint. One price, $300,000. Considering that the other party is an idol, he should ask for a little less, $300,000 to cover the cost. This is someone's well-intentioned plan. However, Stephen King smiled, and smiled contemptuously. "Oh, dear China Yi, it seems that you haven't figured out the situation yet. I invited you here today, not to do business with you, but I'm optimistic about you, and think you have a future. So I told you so much, and it seems that you don't see your identity clearly. You are nothing now. Of course, I don't deny that you may become a great writer in the future, but now, I still hope you can face reality. 3 novels, $300,000, it's just a joke. Let me ask, who in the whole United States will give you $300,000 just for these 3 ideas? You think too highly of yourself. a series of contemptuous words, a painful ridicule. But all this did not move Yi Feiyang. To be honest, if it was 3 days ago, Yi Feiyang, who was desperate for money, might have considered selling his 3 novels at a low price, but now, damn it, Yi Feiyang laughed. Dear Mr. Stephen King, according to your opinion, how much are my 3 novels worth? How much? Stephen King folded his arms and leaned on the sofa. I will pay you a maximum of $30,000. This is already the maximum amount. His expression was full of charity. In Stephen King's eyes, the amount he paid was enough to give the other party face. Shit, ordinary small authors can't get even $10,000, let alone $30,000, not to mention that the other party is Chinese. In the United States, a country with serious racial discrimination, it seems that there is no precedent for Chinese authors to stand out. Regarding Stephen King's charity, Yi Feiyang shrugged and smiled defiantly. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Stephen King. I know that this may be the highest price you have offered, but it is far from what I want. Then, we have nothing to discuss, but I want to tell you something. Yi Feiyang stood up and stared at Stephen King, the famous American king of terror, with an attitude of looking down from above. It doesn't matter if you don't buy my 3 novels now, because they will sell for $3 million in the future. $3 million US? Exclamation mark. Stephen King almost couldn't help laughing. How is it possible? Exclamation mark. This Chinese is so humorous. Unless you are really favored by God, or the goddess of luck favors you. Otherwise, this kind of miracle will never happen. Yi Feiyang knew that it was useless to say more. Well, just wait and see. Yi Feiyang, will let you know in a short time that everything I say will become a miracle. Then he stood up and left. A miracle? Haha, sure, I'll be waiting. No need to see you off, dear friend. Stephen King sat on the sofa, not getting up, and looked at Yi Feiyang with some disdain as he left. A woman came up from behind and put her arms around Stephen King's neck. What's wrong, dear? Why don't you see the guest off? He's too arrogant. I don't like him. Oh really? But the stories he wrote are really good. I especially like the 1408 Phantom Chamber. So what? In a complicated place like the United States, who would know him? Even if he writes excellent stories, he's just an unknown person. What's more, he's a Chinese. Stephen King laughed. That's possible. Weren't you not famous before? But now, you've become a great writer. The woman stroked Stephen King's hair gently. Stephen King bit on a cigar and smiled. There may be Santa Claus in the United States, but there will definitely not be a miracle like him. Besides, to become famous in such a short time, is this possible? Stephen King shook his head and blew out a puff of smoke. Chapter 23. Anne Hathaway. Leaving Nevada, where Stephen King lives, Yi Feiyang drove his second-hand car straight back to Los Angeles. It has to be said that a second-hand car is a second-hand car. Not only does it squeak and twist along the way, but it also consumes a lot of fuel. When Yi Feiyang drove the car to a gas station near where he lives to refuel, the entire second-hand car's fuel tank was almost burned out. Yi Feiyang was very lucky that the car did not break down halfway and leave him thousands of miles away. I'm very grateful. The one who helped refuel was a fat black man. The fat man was very enthusiastic. While refueling the car, he chatted with Yi Feiyang. Dude, it seems that you didn't drive close enough. This car is about to smoke. I went to Nevada. Nevada? The famous ghost state? Ha, you are so interested. I have always planned to go there, but I don't have time. Yes, many people are like this. They have money but no time, and they have time but no money. Classic. I like what you said. The fat black man gave a thumbs up. But we also have to pay attention to safety when we go out to travel. We can't just step on the accelerator and rush around just to save time. For example, I have a buddy who is about your age. He once went to Texas to attend the Terminator movie tour party. Do you know Texas? It's the place where the chainsaw killer appeared. What? Your buddy was killed by a chainsaw? No, he is not that lucky. The chainsaw killer doesn't kill anyone he catches. It's filmed in the movies. Most of the people he kills are beautiful women. My buddy was the same as you. Halfway through the journey, the car started to smoke. He thought it was out of gas, so he opened the tank to check, but it was nighttime. In order to see clearly whether there was any gas in the tank, he took out a lighter. The result is imaginable. He is not a real Terminator. With a bang, he turned to ashes and was killed by an explosion. Sorry, my friend, I brought up your sad story. It's okay. I've told this story many times, but I'm going to get to the point. Although my friend died, he bought insurance, and it was a large amount of insurance. The insurance company was so righteous. After finding out the truth, they paid the claim without saying anything. So, man, for the safety of yourself and your family, and for your family, to get some comfort in the future, you must have the awareness of buying insurance. One person is insured, and the whole family is happy. By the way, I haven't introduced myself yet. Filling up at the gas station is just my interest and hobby. In fact, I'm a manager of Alsted Insurance Company in the United States. Do you want a full insurance? Our company is doing excellent work recently. If you insure 10,000, you will get 3,000 for free. Yi Feiyang. Just when Yi Feiyang was fooled by this passionate black fat man, and didn't know whether to laugh or cry, at the bus stop not far away, a few little hooligans on skateboards were shouting and stopping a beautiful woman with a suitcase and slender legs. No one else knew the girl, but Yi Feiyang could see clearly that it was his landlord's granddaughter, Anne Hathaway. Roller skating has just become popular. Almost all young people who are following the trend like to ride skateboards and run around the streets. In their words, it is called seeking excitement, but for others, it is a mess. These lawless teenagers don't care about these things. When they have nothing to do on weekdays, they form groups and ride skateboards all over the streets, making the surroundings uneasy. Anne Hathaway, who is carrying a big suitcase and looks sweet, is obviously targeted by these guys. One of the white boys with acne on his face snatched the suitcase she was carrying and then shouted to throw her suitcase to him and he to you. He was having a lot of fun teasing her, but Anne was so anxious that she almost cried. Seeing that the beautiful girl was about to cry, the bad street boys laughed even more happily and even opened the suitcase and threw out the clothes one by one, such as tops, pants, coats, even bras, underwear, etc. all fell to the ground. Hey, pretty girl, pick up those colorful clothes. Acne yelled. Look, man, there are white underwear, so sexy. A rat looking guy laughed. Oh my god, there is also this black bra, I like it. Those hateful street boys cheesed, laughed, and even said some very obscene words. And the adults around not only did not come forward to stop these bad guys, but also watched the show together, watching how a weak girl made a fool of herself. At that moment, Anne Hathaway felt so weak and helpless. As the leader of the street boys, Acne was standing steadily on the skateboard, teasing the super beautiful girl in front of him, and suddenly, hey, man, is this fun? What? Before Acne could react, who dared to shout at him so loudly, he felt a pair of pliers like big hands like magic, picked him up from the skateboard, and then hit him hard against the roadside bus stop. Bang! There was a strong sound of collision between the forehead of the Acne and the glass of the bus stop. The glass shattered. Acne felt dizzy and his skull seemed to be broken. Oh, damn, my head. Acne held his head and squatted on the ground in unbearable pain. The other teenagers wanted to rush to rescue him, but Yi Feiyang picked up the skateboard with his foot and said, whoever dares to come, I will beat him to death. The rat-like man didn't believe it. As soon as he took a step forward, Yi Feiyang swung the skateboard and hit him directly. The poor guy flew out with his skateboard. A terrifying blow. The friends were shocked. Oh, God. It's so cruel. These teenagers usually just make a fuss. To put it bluntly, they just snatched children's lollipops, kicked widows' doors, and bullied honest people. They had never seen anyone more cruel than themselves. Seeing Yi Feiyang like this, they were all stunned. Seeing that he had shocked the enemy with one move, Yi Feiyang was too lazy to talk to these bastards anymore. He waved his skateboard like a general and said, get out of here. With the shout, the skateboard teenager shuddered all over and turned to run away. Come back. Yi Feiyang shouted, take them away. He pointed at the unlucky Acne and the rat-eyed man. Those guys dared not disobey orders and hurriedly picked up their companions who were still wailing, then turned around and ran away. As for Anne Hathaway, she never expected to meet Yi Feiyang here, and she didn't expect him to help her. Anyway, the nightmare just now was finally over, but for a girl like her, she still had lingering fears, and her face still had a pitiful look of panic. Banty, I beg all book friends to collect and recommend it. Thank you, my friend. Chapter 24. Hooking up with the future movie queen. At this time, Hathaway obviously had not recovered from the embarrassment and humiliation just now. Her cheeks were rosy, and her beautiful eyes were even more rosy. Today, she was dressed casually, wearing a white t-shirt with a deer pattern on it. Although the t-shirt was very loose, it still vaguely outlined her perky breasts, even when she bent down to pick up her clothes. A cheap guy accidentally glanced at the cleavage that no one had ever been attached to. Hathaway was wearing a pair of blue jeans underneath, which tightly tightened her amazing figure and outlined her beautiful buttocks like a green apple. Her legs were already slender, and at this moment they were tightly closed, without a single gap in the middle, which made people imagine. No wonder she was teased by others. She is so beautiful and has such a good figure. She went out alone and in such a mixed community. Isn't this inviting crime? Exclamation mark. Yi Feiyang shook his head and squatted down to help Hathaway pick up the clothes on the ground. Why did you come out alone and bring so many things? Yi Feiyang asked. I'm going to donate these clothes to the church. They're all worthless old clothes. Hathaway wiped her tears and said, donate? You're kind-hearted, but you don't have to go so far. You can ask the church to come and get them. The nun was not available, so I had to deliver them myself, but I didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Thinking of the dirty words those people had just said, and the grievances she had suffered, Hathaway's tears flowed again. Hey, don't cry, don't cry. I'm most afraid of women crying. I'm not crying, it's just, there's just sand in my eyes. Isn't this line too tacky? Exclamation mark. Someone thought. According to the normal procedure, someone still asked seriously, really? Do you want me to blow it for you? That's not necessary. Hathaway wiped her tears again. But can you? Can you what? Can you give me back what you have in your hand first? Huh? Yi Feiyang looked at his hand and found that he had unknowingly picked up the other person's narrow black lace panties and was playing with them in his hand. Ahem. I didn't mean it. I really didn't mean it. Someone hurriedly threw the panties over. Yi Feiyang was sharp-eyed. The moment he threw it over, he saw that the lace panties were very thin, but the design was very unique. There was a red butterfly embroidered on it, which was lifelike, and looked like it was alive. It was so cute. Haha, this butterfly is pretty cute. Someone said something he shouldn't have said. Hathaway, whose cheeks were already red, felt shy and hot. Did he do it on purpose? Or was it unintentional? Exclamation mark. After Yi Feiyang finished speaking, he knew he was wrong again. He asterisk asterisk asterisk. Why do you always feel dizzy today? Exclamation mark. Ahem. I didn't mean that. I meant to say, can you smile? Don't cry. Don't cry. Seeing Hathaway about to cry again, Yi Feiyang was about to surrender. Anyway, I still have to thank you. If you hadn't helped me, I don't know what would have happened. Hathaway said with red eyes. Oh, you're welcome. We are neighbors after all. Besides, those little brats are not worth my real fight. If I really had to fight, they wouldn't be the same as before. Why, do you underestimate me? Let me tell you, I have learned Kung Fu. Do you know Kung Fu? Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee. Nunchakus. Hee ha hee. And do you know Jackie Chan? He is a bow-legged star in Hong Kong. He is really good at drunken boxing. Do you know about drunken boxing? Do you want me to show you? Yi Feiyang tried his best to change the subject, so that the other party would not still think about the underwear just now. Hathaway shook her head with a curious look on her face. Helplessly, Yi Feiyang had to stand up and practice drunken boxing in a proper manner. On the streets of the United States, a Chinese youth was boxing in a weird posture, and a white girl squatted on the ground, watching with tears in her eyes. Such a scene attracted the attention of passers-by. After a moment, how is my drunken boxing? Is it good? Is it better than Jackie Chan? Yi Feiyang asked proudly. Hathaway shook her head. What does shaking your head mean? Your fighting is not like drunken boxing, but like monkey boxing. Hathaway said, and couldn't help but burst into laughter, like a pear blossom in the rain. Feiyang also smiled, and lifted the corner of her mouth with his hand. That's right, smile. As long as you smile, all difficulties will pass. Hathaway couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. From childhood to adulthood, no one has ever touched her lips so intimately. Just when Hathaway was staring at Feiyang in a daze, the sound of a bus whistle suddenly came from a distance. The bus is here. Do you want me to take you there? No, thank you. Hathaway stood up with the suitcase, but the suitcase was too heavy, causing her to bump and bump when she walked. You said no, let me do it. Feiyang walked over, snatched the big suitcase in her hand, and helped her lift the big suitcase to the car in one breath. Even if you want to donate, you don't have to carry so much at once. It's rare to donate once, it's better to donate all. Hathaway said. You are asking for trouble. Feiyang shook his head. Aren't you going to get off the bus? Hathaway asked as the bus was about to start. How can I feel at ease with you like this? After all, Mrs. Lawrence is a good person, and has helped me a lot. I'm just returning the favor. Returning the favor? Oh, this is an idiom in our China. It means that, if someone throws you a peach, you return a plum. Everyone is happy. Your Chinese idioms are really interesting. Hathaway said with a blink of an eye. Is it interesting? If you like it, I can teach you more in the future. Someone tried to flirt with this little beauty, the future Oscar winner. But, no buts, I have already said that I will help you, and I will definitely help you to the end. Let me teach you another idiom. Be consistent from beginning to end, okay? What I mean is, it seems that you forgot your car at the gas station. Huh? Feiyang remembered his poor second-hand car. The bus had already started moving. Feiyang looked through the window glass and saw the fat black man who was in charge of refueling was jumping and waving at him. Needless to say, his old car was blocking other people's business. Feiyang was upset. Why did he forget about it? Why not drive her there? But he couldn't easily admit his mistakes in front of a beautiful woman, so Feiyang said calmly, oh, the car has a little problem and needs to be repaired. It's better for us to take the bus to save resources. While speaking, Feiyang also waved to the fat black man through the car window. Please, keep an eye on it. The fat black man was far away and couldn't hear a shit. Shit, I didn't pay the money and it's blocking the road. Maybe the boss will fire me again. In the spacious and bright church, candles representing purity were lit all around, and holy water and other offerings were placed on the altar in the middle. A huge clay sculpture of Jesus crucified on the cross stood on the altar. Poor Jesus, rugged and bloodstained, with his head drooping, seemed to be telling the world something. Feiyang had been to a church before, but he had never seen a church abroad. Compared with the one in Hong Kong, this one seemed more solemn and dignified. Not far away, Anne Hathaway was talking cordially with Sister Emma of the church about donations. Oh, dear Anne, you are really a kind person. I haven't seen such a loving person like you for a long time. The clothes you donated are very good, and I think those who need help will be satisfied. Your love has been conveyed to God's ears through these donated clothes. Sister Emma said to Hathaway with emotion. It's nothing, dear Emma. These are what I should do. As long as I can contribute to the charity of a church, I will be satisfied. Hathaway said modestly. So I say, Annie baby, you have a talent for being a nun, and you have such perfect qualifications. In the future, I really hope to see you serve the Holy Lord and serve God. Feiyang next to him heard it. No, what does this mean? Let her be a nun to serve God. She should be a female star, to serve the audience, to serve me. Ahem, sister, please allow me to interrupt. I think the future career should be chosen by the individual. You and I should not interfere too much in other people's decisions, right? Hathaway must not be fooled by the switch, otherwise everything she has done will fall short. Someone thought selfishly. You are right, my friend. Sister Emma seemed a little embarrassed. I shouldn't say more about this. As for whether to be a nun or not, let Hathaway make the decision herself. Dear Emma, don't say that. You should know my intention. From childhood to adulthood, I have always wanted to serve God. If possible, I will choose to serve the church and use my own strength to help those in need. It's terrible. This girl has been brainwashed by the witch. Feiyang felt that the situation was critical. He had to work harder to pull this lost lamb from the sacred road to the church to the dazzling Hollywood avenue of stars. Applause and the audience are your lifelong choices. Just when Feiyang was about to make another effort, Hathaway said politely, "Excuse me, I still have something to talk to Sister Emma. Can you step aside for a while?" The meaning of this sentence is very straightforward, that is, go and cool off. So Feiyang nodded very cooperatively. "Okay, then I'll go over there and take a look." In the cathedral, several believers were whispering, discussing with each other how to trust the old man God. For example, they attend mass every weekend, hold hands and pray at home while eating, and often do good deeds. Occasionally, someone glanced at Feiyang and nodded implicitly. Boring, really boring. Feiyang really didn't understand why so many people like to go to church. After strolling around the church for a while, Feiyang walked to the left side of the church with some boredom. There was a small room there, which was used by the church to confess sinners. Just like in the movie, there was a partition inside, separating the priest and the confessor, and the confessor told his story or sin to the priest. Feiyang was bored, and took out a cigarette. He thought, this is a sacred church, how could this be done? So, he shamelessly slipped into the confessional. The environment was good, the room was not too big or too small, there was a bench, and there was a place to hang clothes. Feiyang held a cigarette in his mouth, lit it, and took a puff. It was great. It seemed that everything that violated the rules was very enjoyable to do. But someone would not have thought that a miracle would soon come to him. I beg you to collect and recommend this book, please. It's not easy to start a new book. Chapter 25. It's not easy to be a charlatan. While Feiyang was smoking in the prayer room, a girl ran in from outside the church. She was about 16 or 17 years old, with brown hair, bright eyes, and wheat-colored skin. She looked like a mixed-race girl. The small, seemingly ill-fitting belly-bearing outfit was tightly tied to her amazingly good figure. She had a cute face like a doll, but she had a pair of breasts that were about to fly. They were not too big, but beautifully shaped, and they looked like they could be held in one hand by an adult man. Her waist was so thin that it could only be held in one hand, revealing a moving, snow-white belly button that was as cute as a small red bean, as if telling everyone that not all girls were qualified to wear belly-bearing outfits. After entering the church, this chocolate beauty walked straight to the confessional where Feiyang was hiding. Feiyang was happily hiding inside to smoke, when suddenly, someone came in from the opposite side, and the fragrance of youth filled someone's nose. Just when Feiyang was wondering what happened, he heard a sweet voice next door saying, "Father, can I confess to you?" Feiyang was stunned. "Father?" Exclamation mark. "Who? Me?" Exclamation mark. He accidentally went to the wrong room. But it was quite interesting that a girl suddenly came to confess to you. So Feiyang quickly put out his cigarette and said solemnly, "Of course. I'm a little excited, Father, this is my first time to confess." The girl next door sounded a little nervous. "Don't be excited, everyone has a first time. You may be a little nervous, a little overwhelmed, and a little timid, but you have to muster up the courage to say everything you want to say. Remember, child, after the first time, there will be a second time, a third time, and then it will get better and better." Feiyang played the role of a charlatan very well. "But dear father, from your voice, you don't seem to be very old." The girl seemed a little dissatisfied with Feiyang calling her a child. "In front of God, we are all children." Feiyang hurriedly tried to smooth things over. There was silence for a while, and then suddenly, "Father, can you give me a cigarette?" "Ah, what? I smelled it when I came in. Are you smoking?" "Ahem, yes, may God forgive me, a sinner, amen." A certain charlatan made the sign of the cross. "Let me have one. I'm a little nervous. Smoking can ease my mood." The girl said. "How old are you?" Feiyang asked. 17. "Minors, this is not allowed. Just help me, Father. Or, you can have one too." "Well, since it's your first time, I'll smoke with you." Feiyang generously stuffed a cigarette through the gap. Faintly, he could see the proud figure of the girl opposite him and her attractive chocolate skin color. She looked like a beauty. Why did she come here to confess? It would be better to benefit the public and go to the beach to surf in a bikini. The two big and small smokers started to puff in the sacred confessional. Father, well, what did you say? Do you think God will forgive us for smoking here? The girl asked worriedly. Well, God is also humane. I have served him for so long, so it is understandable that I occasionally break the rules. Do you smoke often? I already said, occasionally. But it doesn't seem like it. Don't be so picky. Are you here to confess, or to interrogate me? Someone said angrily. I'm sorry, Father, I shouldn't have said that. Forget it, I forgive you. Tell me, what do you want to confess? I confess. I beat someone yesterday. The girl said after a moment of hesitation. Who did you hit? A female classmate? No, my boyfriend. The girl said. To be precise, it was my ex-boyfriend. We broke up. Because you hit him? No, because I refused to sleep with him. Huh. Someone was curious. Why? The girl took a deep breath. Although I look very open on the surface and wear very revealing clothes, I'm really not that kind of girl who is casual, especially in terms of relationships. I hope to give my first time to the person I really love. That's good. I support you. So I have always kept a distance from him, even if I have a boyfriend. But those boys, you should know, their minds are full of those things. When we went camping in the wild yesterday, my boyfriend sneaked into my tent in the middle of the night. I was scared at the time. He said, Jessica, baby, just give it to me. You know how much I love you. But I don't believe his nonsense at all. Why? Someone felt the stimulation of listening to a story. Creation requires inspiration, and inspiration comes from life. This is life. Because at dinner, I saw him kissing Jenny by the lake. Jenny? Your friend? Yeah. Is she prettier than you? No, very ugly, with freckles all over her face. It looks like your boyfriend has a heavy taste. Well, it's not my boyfriend's fault. It's Jenny who is too coquettish. She's always winking at boys. It's understandable. A girl who is not very pretty can only use the strategy of scattering fish and catch as many as she can. The girl next door named Jessica sighed. You're right. In fact, I sympathize with her sometimes. Jenny always says to me, Jessica, why do you look as lovable as a doll, and every boy is fascinated by you, but I don't even have a boyfriend. Do you think she is very pitiful? There must be something pitiful about hateful people. Someone sighed. Jessica next door was stunned for a moment. Father, what you said is very good, very true. Ahem, it's just so. I've heard too many people confess, and have too many insights. Father, can I ask how old you are? 20. Oh no, already 25. Someone hurriedly changed the subject. It's amazing that you became a priest at such a young age. It's so, mainly because of a good opportunity. Once the opportunity came, I immediately became a priest. Feiyang was very emotional. If he hadn't come into smoke, he wouldn't have been able to wear this sheepskin. Tell me about your boyfriend. You beat him, right? Before that, did you have that? This is the key point of the story. How can I not ask clearly? Exclamation mark. The girl seemed very generous, without any shyness, and said, no. I was very angry when I found out about him and Jenny, so the moment he got into my tent, I prepared something to entertain him. Oh, what was it? Candles, chains, whips, or pointed leather shoes, baseball bats? Someone asked excitedly, not realizing how extensive his exploration was. The girl next door actually blushed. It's not these things. I just prepared a bucket of dirty water and poured it on him. This has a lower lethality. Someone said shamelessly. Father, why are you? Oh, I mean, may God forgive your sins. After all, you only punished the other party a little, and you won't be punished. Damn it, he almost got caught. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.